Hello. Hello and welcome. Hello, Charlie. Hello and welcome to Last Week in Wrestling. I am one of your hosts, Austin Glidden, and next to me is our co-host, or I am his co-host, however you want to look at it. Our co-host and producer, Charlie Eckenbarger. Charlie, say hello.
Hello.
Wow, what a booming voice.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, we're here to talk about, of course, wrestling, and we are going to get to that very soon. We're going to talk about AEW Revolution. We're going to look back at that. We're also going to look at AEW Dynamite and Rampage. So last week in wrestling, good title. So the first thing I want to talk about, though, real quick, is I want to take a moment to tell you guys a little bit about what we're going to be doing here on this show. The first thing is we are maybe the only thing. I actually don't know if I'm going to say anything else, but I just want to let everybody know now before we get bitched at about, talking about AEW too much. That is Charlie and I's jam right now. So AEW is something we're going to cover every week, every Monday. We're going to do the Dynamite and the Rampage. If you guys want us to watch a WWE, either a snippet, like a specific section of it, or if you want us to watch a whole show and talk about it, we will definitely entertain that idea. I look forward to also watching some New Japan, pay-per-views and like Wrestle Kingdom or Dominion or any of those things. And kind of special shows like that we'll definitely watch and we'll definitely talk about them. But today's episode is all AEW because we are all elite on this show. But we're also weekly, we're going to be doing probably a little bit of news. We're not going to do all news. We're just going to do kind of the highlights. If you want more news, go check out fwonline.com with Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. You can go to Wrestle Talk. You can go to What Culture Wrestling. All of those guys have great daily news. That's not our jam. That's not our job. But we will kind of be talking about certain highlights that we can really dig into and have a good time with. So we'll be doing news. We'll be doing reviews. We'll have some retrospectives for you. All of that. Did I miss anything, Charlie?
Not off the top of my head. I think that pretty much covers everything.
I'm real fucking good. All right,
yeah, you're very good at this.
The thing I want to start with though is just a little bit of sad news. This is the only news we're covering today because we have way too much to cover. Otherwise, of course, this isn't the news, but we could talk about Tony Khan and Ring of Honor. We could talk about Cody. Where's he going? There's a ton of news right now that I would love to talk about. But the biggest and most important thing to me is talking about the beloved wrestler Scott Hall. Who was this morning on life support, and sources say, according to his longtime friend and tag partner, Kevin Nash, that the family has taken him off life support. So really it is inevitable, only a matter of time. And from the PW Torch, they wrote, former WCW and WWE star Scott Hall is on life support at Wellstar Kennestone Hospital in Marietta, Georgia, after suffering 3 heart attacks last night. PW Torch has learned he had hip replacement surgery last week after he suffered a fall, but suffered a serious complication. Will you stop it? Suffered a serious complication when a blood clot got loose. Hall was pushed as a main event act in the mid-1980s in the AWA as a tag team partner to none other than Kurt Hennig. And he would, or Mr. Perfect. We have a history with Mr. Perfect, don't we, Charlie? But he would go to prominence nationally as Razor Ramon in WWE, and in WCW, he and Kevin Nash formed the Outsiders and helped elevate WCW Nitro in the ratings, which they won for 83 straight weeks following this kind of involvement, especially after Hulk Hogan joined the group, which was called the NWO. If you're a wrestling fan, you know what the NWO was. And I just want to say one thing. There are a few things to say about Scott Hall. First off, wrestling would not be what it is today without the NWO, and the NWO would not have happened if it weren't for Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Of course, Hogan made it blow up, but he was not the person that started it. It was those two. And Scott Hall just had a brilliant mind for wrestling. I talk about it like he's gone already, but it is just inevitable. You know what I mean? It's hard not to talk that way. I mean, if there's a way for him to kick out of this and be healthy and have good quality of life, by all means, please.
Awesome.
but it just doesn't seem that way. So I apologize if I'm talking in past tense. We have not lost him yet. Um, but I just want to say, I remember as a kid, I watched, and for some reason I'm spacing the pay per view. Maybe you can tell me which one it was, Charlie. But it's the famous Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon ladder match.
That's actually one
Um,
of the ones I was thinking about as well. I don't remember which pay per view specifically though. It might have been
yeah,
in your house actually.
it might have been. I honestly, I just can't. I didn't write it down. But whichever one it was, as a kid, I remember watching that and being blown away.
Well,
And and
the
I
that
remember,
ladder match was like the first time that we've seen anything like that. It was incredible.
yeah, yeah, for sure, 100% on that scale. We had never seen something like that, and so I remember thinking it was so amazing. But I remember when I got older, and I'd already met you by this point, Charlie. And as you know, I got the WWE Network, and I remember that was one of the matches I was eager to go back to. But I thought to myself, like, there's no way it's as good as I remember. Like, there've definitely been better ladder matches. And even rewatching it, I was like, this is still one of, if not my favorite ladder match. And I always thought in retrospect it was Shawn Michaels that really carried that show. But in reality, when you watch it, it's not. I mean, this is it takes two to tango situation. And Scott Hall held his own. And to this day, it's just one of the greats. And then again with NWO, I mean, we would not be here talking in the way that we are about the things that we are talking about, and wrestling would not. I mean, you have to remember when NWO came out, there were still like Isaac Yankums in the world. Okay,
Yep.
there were hillbillies dumping slop on people. Okay, I mean, this is like the Bushwhackers. I'm not saying all these were around at the time when NWO came out, but I'm saying these types of gimmicks, Doink the Clown, right? And so you have, these types of gimmicks, and you have this ultra realistic, very believable thing happen where people are using their real names and they're crossing networks and they're coming over to different promotions. And man, he's just a real special guy. And he might have been a bit of an asshole in the past, but every single interview I've listened to, every video I've watched, everything after he kind of cleaned up his life and he kind of gained a whole new look at the world. He seemed like a genuinely wonderful guy. And it's just my heart really goes out to the family and friends. What are your thoughts?
You pretty much summed up everything I was thinking. That ladder match, especially for younger folks getting into wrestling, they're so used to seeing the ladder match and the Hardy Boys and that whole thing with Edge and Christian was often considered like pinnacle of it. But that never would have happened without Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels getting into that. I haven't gone back and watched it yet. I did. I was thinking about doing so in light of all this, and was thinking about Razor Ramon, kind of reflecting Scott Hall's career. Um, but it was really a pivotal moment in wrestling for anybody that came up around that time watching wrestling, that pay per view and that match. But also what he did for the sport, right? The whole switching over to WCW was all about getting paid, right? Which is fine. But what Kevin Nash and Scott Hall also did was ensure that everybody around them in the locker room was getting paid as well. And they really did a lot for bringing equity to wrestling contracts compared to, I'm not going to talk about how it is now, right? When you have guys like Lesnar and whatnot, and then others. But, back then, the discrepancy in how people were getting paid in the locker room was huge, absolutely massive. And then you have Scott Hall and Kevin Nash going over and being like real advocates and be a bit more fair for people, right? So his impact on the sport is just astronomical, astronomical.
Yeah. Yep. JR, Jim Ross, good old JR, also talked about how he's one of the most brilliant minds in wrestling that he's ever met. And a lot of people, when people are either on their last leg, they're down for the count of two and they're about to hit three, right? And a lot of people say real nice things about them, or if they've already lost the battle, right? But JR is one of those guys that he shoots straight, man, and it's really nice, to see so many people saying so many kind things, because I've heard, being such a fan of wrestling history, and I don't know everything, and I guarantee there are people watching or listening or that will watch and listen that know vastly more
Yeah.
than me,
And they'll
okay?
bury us
But
every time we say something wrong.
yeah, 100%. Fuck you guys,
That's
preemptively.
right.
But no, but no, but I love wrestling history though. That's just something I'm really fascinated in, and just looking at all of the people that have made a change, and hearing all the people also that have uh, kind of talked shit about Scott Hall, because he had a lot of problems, and I don't know. There's a lot to his history, and I don't want to sound like I'm burying the guy because I love he's a great dude now from at least from the what we can see as spectators,
Well, he
and
he went and did the
um,
whole DDP thing and kind of like he found
yep,
God in a lot of ways, or at least stopped, turned more towards spirituality and stuff in his later years. So I mean, but that's the truth of it, though, right? I mean, he had a really rocky um, middle part of his career.
yeah,
So I mean, it's being honest about it, but he's also, from what I understand, again, just kind of reading up on what he's been up to recently, he's kind of made good with it. He recognized he tried changing, and he's doing the best that he can
yeah,
to make
and
good on.
that's really what I look for with people whenever we look at there's deconstructing things, but when someone can reconstruct, that's what I really look for, and I really appreciate who he became. So, I mean, that's all I have to say about it. Again, tons of love and support to all of those grieving, even now and when the time comes. So, yeah, you have Last Week in Wrestling support.
Thoughts and prayers for
On
sure.
that, for sure, yeah. On that note, though, I don't know how to transition from that. That's
it's,
it's
it's a
just
rough
like
one.
straight. We're starting with Bummerville, and we're
Yeah.
just working our way up the coaster. But let's just go ahead and jump into show reviews. We have a lot to cover,
So
so
much.
this episode may go a bit longer than we normally want to, just because of how much we have going on. And we wanted to start last week, but I was on vacation, so I ruined everything, as Charlie will tell you all the time, I'm sure. And I yeah, so we're trying to kind of we thought a pay-per-view would be a great place to start, but unfortunately we had to wait until now. So we have like 3 shows, and we're going to start with Revolution, and we're going to start with the buy-in, which you can go right now and watch on AEW's YouTube page. You can watch the first 3 matches of Revolution. They are the kind of pre-show dark matches, what the old dark matches would be. And the first one is Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander. And this is I had actually uh, predicted Statlander to win. But Hirsch pulled this out. And I'll tell you a little bit about this match here. And I can already tell that Charlie and I will probably disagree a little bit on this one. Uh, a few highlights of this match. Layla Hirsch at one point puts Chris Statlander's arm behind the steel steps and just fucking drop kicks him. And I'm just like, holy fuck, she broke her arm. Like, it looks so brutal.
Was
I
brutal.
don't know how that didn't hurt if she got out of it. Because I heard, I'll say this preemptively, for all the shit we're about to say, only one person got injured, which
Yep.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
surprised.
Yep. Yep.
Orange
Yep. Yep.
Cassidy, and
Yep.
we're
The
gonna talk
arm.
about that. Yeah, when he got bealed, we'll talk about that later. But anyways, that's fucking funny shit. But yeah, so she crushes her arm behind the steel steps. Layla also unfortunately botches a few shots or spots, especially the springboard she tries to do at one point. She falls, and you
It's
were texting me
embarrassing.
like, "Oh shit, she just botched some shit." And when I watched it, I actually thought there was going to be a lot more. That's the one that really stood out to me. I think the rest were kind of sold a bit better. That one, the crowd was like kind of booing about
Yeah.
it.
It
You know
was
what I mean? Like,
embarrassing.
I felt really bad for her. But this match I thought was actually pretty cool, albeit very clunky. But I think by the end it started to work out. And I'll tell you a little bit why. Layla focuses on the arm a lot. After she crushes Statlander's arm with the steel steps, she focuses on the arm, and this is something that you see a lot of like the wrestling vets do, right? This is something that you see that comes with experience, because when you're in front of a crowd, and as a musician, I can speak to this level. It's not the same. But whenever you have when you're in front of a crowd, man, you don't always remember all the things you wanted to do. I mean, there's a certain level of comfort you need to be at and a certain level of confidence you have to have. And but she remembered finally. And I'm watching this match and I'm like, man, Layla Hirsch, granted she has a ways to go, but she's getting a lot better, I think, especially from where she started. I've been watching her since Dark. So I'll let you talk in a minute, bitch. So but there is one point where Layla does a Hurricanrana off the apron and just chucks Chris Statlander onto the outside of the ring, which made me go ouchie. And then there's another point too where Chris Statlander has Layla on her shoulders in kind of an electric chair position on the top ropes. Okay, or well, she's on the second rope, but I mean, and then she just kind of like dumps her face first on the ropes. And even though it kind of looked dumb, it was actually like looked like it really fucked her up.
Yeah.
Like it really like whiplashed her pretty good. It was a pretty cool spot. I was there for it. But there were a couple of near falls that the crowd actually went wild for. Like by the end, they won the crowd over. Granted, it's pretty easy to do with the first match of the night. People are hyped. They have a lot of energy. They're excited. But I think they actually pulled it off. Layla beats Chris by cheating though, and my prediction was wrong. But whenever I saw how this played out, it made a lot of sense to me, and I was fine with it. I was happy to be wrong. She hits Chris with a spare turnbuckle rod and does a really good moonsault off the top rope, actually, and pins her for the 1, 2, 3. And I had predicted Chris Statlander because I thought we were just going to let the baby faces kind of like knock this out. I didn't think there was much more story to it. But then when Layla Hirsch won, I thought, well, out of the two of them, who needs it more? Layla needs to win. They're giving her a bit of a push now. She's a new heel. I'm fine with it. What'd you think, Charlie?
I think Layla Hirsch stinks, and when we get to Dynamite, I will reaffirm that she still stinks. And but this one was kind of surprising to me, and we talked about it a little bit when we did a pre-show, just kind of talking about wrestling a couple weeks ago. I'm surprised that they let her win, given everything. You know, we're not going to get political here, but given everything going on in Europe, you know, it has that kind of Nikolai Volkov kind of like Cold War kind of vibes. It's not being billed that way at all, but I mean, even as recently as Wednesday, she's walking around with a Russian flag on her trunks and all that sort of thing. I don't remember if she had that in at Revolution, but in my mind, I wanted Statlander to win just because how do you, you know, it just seemed, given the geopolitical climate, that there's no way Layla was going to. And quite frankly, I get that she needs it from a narrative position, but man, she sucks, and I can't. I hate watching her wrestle. It's just,
Oh, but why do we'll talk about that on Dynamite. Let's get through this
yeah,
because I'm gonna ask you why you think that, but since we're coming back to it,
sure.
we can come back. Overall, though, was this match that bad to you? I mean, how like did you hate this
I
match
didn't
or
hate the
how did
match.
you feel about
No, I
it?
just don't. It's one of those things like it could have been so much better. I think Chris, you know, she's not the best uh women wrestler in the division, but she's good, and I thought she was gonna kind of elevate Layla. And there were some cool spots. It was fine. I didn't hate it. You know, it just it could have been so much cooler. And I think Chris Statlander with a better opponent just looks better.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
fights or she
So
wrestles.
I, off Mike, you and I have talked about. Excuse me. We've talked about like the different tiers of the
Mhm.
female division. And Chris Statlander is definitely like a second tier, which means they're good. They just have room to grow. Like
Okay.
top tier is like your Britt Bakers, your Thunder Rosas, and your who am I forgetting? The professor doing the 5 minute
Serena.
challenges. Why? Thank you, Jesus.
Serena Deeb.
Serena Deeb, who I think's just the best bell to bell wrestler in the women's division. Period. So it's like you have that like top tier, right? And then there's like the second tier of people that if they can just get to that level, they're gonna have a really like it will start becoming a really strong female division, which they have been criticized heavily for having a very weak women's division, not only because of the talent, but also the way it's booked. So it's only gonna be so much. But we'll come back to that soon
And just it's kind
because
of
the next
bullet
no,
point on
please,
that,
please,
like
please.
the other thing to consider is, and we've talked about this as well, not to get super into it, but like WWE has all the women talent. Like they
Yeah,
have so much. That roster is so deep. AEW is currently developing their own. That's a good thing, right?
yeah.
But that's why
And
I
and
think
they
the
have
difference is so stark when you watch a WWE women's division versus an AEW.
yeah. And you and yeah, it's just so like they've been around for 3 years. They've been pushing the women's division they'll say from the beginning. I never felt that way. I feel like it really started picking up after year one. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's still new, and they're trying to build new talent.
Yep,
So they have a few vets, but they're trying to build new talent, and I appreciate that. So
for
we'll see
sure.
how it goes. But speaking of building new talent, holy shit! The next match on the buyout is Hook versus QT Marshall.
And
All I'm going to say about this is at first, Hook sells a bit for QT, and then it just turns into a Hook squash match.
complete 180.
And you watch this, and you know why they call him the cold-blooded handsome devil.
He's handsome
Holy fuck. How is this little Taz baby so good?
because his dad is Taz, and he is basically just Taz reborn, but slimmer, taller, doesn't look like a cannonball, like a little refrigerator walking around.
We'll talk about a refrigerator with a head in a moment. It's like my favorite line JR's ever said, and I'll put that in context later. I love Hook, and I hate to jump on the bandwagon, but how can't you? He comes out with the
It's
Action
fun.
Bronson song, which is such a unique intro, first off, and it just kicks. And then, like, whenever he gets out there, he just beats people's ass. I just want to say one thing about this match before we move on, because there's not much more to say. If you've seen a Hook match, it's this and as good. Like, it just keeps getting better, you
Yep.
know? But the thing is, when I was a kid, probably about 8 or 9, I wanted to be a wrestler. This is back when I even thought it was real. So I was ready to get my ass actually kicked,
Still
right?
real to me, man.
I didn't learn that until I was 10. That was fake. Well, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for that. You know what I mean? That it's
That shit hurts.
pre-planned. That it pre-planned,
It's a
right?
story.
And dude, it devastated me. Like, I mean,
Really?
it really fucked me up. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like I was hurt. I remember I was standing in the fucking lunch line and this kid said it. And I just remember my like sinking stomach feel like I loved wrestling. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I still do, but I mean, like at that time, it was like my everything. Like I loved it. So, anyways, I wanted to be a wrestler, and I always used to watch matches where, like, if you had like, I don't know, say Jim Cornette is a manager for so and so some tag team, and they're taking on the Hart Foundation. And Bret Hart's in the ring, he's beating up some guy, and Jim Cornette jumps on the ropes, and Bret walks over and starts yelling at him, and then the other guy gets a roll up on him, or he comes behind him and hits him. And I always thought, these fucking idiots, they're so stupid. Why would you stop focusing on the guy you're fighting? So my whole persona was going to be Austin the Punisher Glidden. Okay, that was my name. Fuck you.
You're embarrassing.
And that was it. And Capital Punishment was my finisher.
Oh my god. You can't do that.
I would never do this now, of course. But I mean, I was like young and I thought this was so badass. But my whole gimmick was going to be like, I don't get distracted. I walk out to the fucking ring. I get in. I'm fucking ready. Bell rings. I beat their ass. Not distracted. And then I walk out of the ring. And I look at Hook and I'm like, this is what I wanted to be as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he does it better than I ever would have. You know, like, you know what I mean?
I think this is the
It's so
first
great.
time we heard him talk too, was right after that, wasn't it? Am I
I don't think
misremembering
did he
something?
talk? I don't remember him
I thought he
talking.
gave a line or something. Maybe not though. But yeah, absolutely. That whole persona that he has going on, it's reminiscent of Taz in the ECW days. He was kind of that way too. He didn't really do a lot of promos. He didn't do a whole lot.
No
I mean, he talked
nonsense.
a little
Yeah.
bit more, but he went in, he fucking threw you around the ring a little bit, put you in the kata hajime, and that was it. And that's what I'm seeing with Hook, and I'm here for it. But when you put QT Marshall, who we'll talk about again a little bit later, if he's good at anything, it's putting guys over.
Yeah, he's a great worker. And that's why he's a trainer. Like he's one of those guys where when I hear certain musicians, I'm like, you're not a great musician, but you're a great producer. Like
Yeah.
you can put a song together, you just aren't. It's like me. Like that's me as a musician. Like I'm better at making songs, but it might take me 40 takes and I might have to edit it together to make it sound like it makes sense. But like I can put a song together. That's my strength, right?
Right.
And I feel like QT is that way. Like, dude, he doesn't need to win ever. Like he's
He
a
doesn't.
trainer. He puts people over. He's not great on the mic, but he gets it. He gets heat and he does his job. I think it's good. So that is the Hook versus QT Marshall match. I think we both planned on Hook winning that one. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
no brainer.
I didn't
Like,
actually put down official predictions for the buy-in, but it was
Yeah. QT had no chance. That's what you got. Um, I'm gonna do that multiple times during this. The last buy-in match is House of Black versus Death Triangle and Eric Redbeard, the old Eric Rowan from WWE, and he returns for his second debut, which doesn't really make sense, but this is his wrestling debut. He has appeared on AEW programming before. Uh, First time after Brody Lee passed away, he came onto that tribute show, and then he came on to the Go Home show for this pay per view. So this was his first match in AEW. Um, there are a lot of spots here. I don't even have all of them written down. This match was pretty awesome, actually, but I had predicted that Death Triangle with Eric Redbeard was going to win because, again, it's a buy-in show. I didn't expect them to do a ton with story stuff. I thought they were just going to do these kind of buy-in matches, like these dark matches, and let the baby faces win. Quite frankly, I don't know why, but I just thought, they like Penta Obscuro needs to get some revenge and Pac, and then of course they bring in this like big baby face and Eric Redbeard. And even though Eric Redbeard totally fits House of Black way more. But yeah, so then, but at the end of this match, though, because it's a great match, back and forth, it's just good wrestling. You should watch it. Again, free on YouTube. Like, what's your excuse?
Literally no
But
reason not to. If you're thinking about AEW and you're like, hey, I don't know, go watch these matches.
yeah, yeah, and they just get better, like down the
Yep.
card. Like, so House of Black, all of them are in the ring. Eric Redbeard gets the Black Mist by Malachi in the face. And then Brody King and Buddy Matthews just start beating the shit out of him, and they eventually, knock him out with a big old Buddy Matthews finisher, and it's over. I was actually surprised, but then I thought, like, what happens now with Redbeard? Like, he's not on the roster. Like I mentioned to you before, like Wheeler Yuta is not on the AEW roster. I checked today, and he's not actually on the roster page, but he's wrestling for him. Part of me was like, I wonder if they'll bring in Redbeard for like a little arc, kind of like that, where they'll use him regularly for a little bit if they want to do something like that. Because I think if he gets misted in the face, there's a chance he could be in the House of Black temporarily. He's a metalhead, just like all three of those do. Well, I can't speak for Buddy Matthews, but I know that Brody King and Malachi Black are huge metal fans. And he just like fits. He's all tatted up. He's a big, giant, fucked up looking dude. Like he
Yeah.
can murder you. He
Yeah.
just fits perfectly. I kind of hope that happens, to be honest. But I don't see much of a future with Redbeard and AEW. But if he did, House of Black's where he belongs to me. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but
I generally agree with that. I mean, again, like you said, the match was kind of really fun. I kind of let it just wash over me. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was, the spots going back. Ooh. And what's interesting about Rowan not being on the roster is like neither is Chavo or Yuta, right? Chavo Guerrero got removed from the roster too. I wonder if the webmaster just added his job over to AEW or something because like Chavo, I don't think got released. Yuta shows up on Dark pretty often. Like, what's going on here?
well, Chavo, there's a bunch of drama there. We can talk
I
about
know,
that
I
some
know.
other time. So I don't think he's there anymore,
No, he's
but
not
I'm
on
not
the.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been officially
Um,
released, but he's not on the
yeah.
roster.
Luckily, AEW doesn't really like release people. Like he'll at least let their contracts play out because he doesn't like want to fuck them over, unlike another company. Um, but that was the buy-in. So go check that out. It's on YouTube. Just put in AEW Revolution 2022 buy-in, and you've got it, man. It's there. But then we get into the main show. This is the good shit right here. And Charlie, I think you're going to be surprised based on how you like, because you know how I feel about Chris Jericho.
Hmm? Yep, I do.
And this first match is Chris Jericho, the opening match, Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston.
What a way to start.
And I hesitate in calling this a wrestling match because this is a goddamn fight.
That's right. It's a slobber knocker.
This is a fight.
Yeah. This was just a straight up
So
brawl.
the very first move out the gate, Eddie walks straight down that fucking ramp. He jumps in the ring. Music's not even off yet, and he's like a Mortal Kombat guy standing before the guy says fight. Like he's just like prepared to murder. And the first fucking move is he dodges a punch, and then he just like fucking I don't remember if it's an half and half or whatever, but he suplexes Jericho straight up on his fucking noggin, dude.
Yeah,
Like, on the crown of his fucking brain,
there's a lot of that.
and I was sincerely like, in my notes, I just put, like, the surprised emoji, like, because I was, like, genuinely worried for him, and, of course, Jericho I wouldn't be surprised if he got a stinger on that because he, like, rolls out of the ring,
Yeah.
and you see him walking around, and he's, like you can tell he's, like, making sure everything works.
Yeah, he's
You know
doing
what I
the
mean?
thing. Yeah.
And there's a point where Eddie goes after him, and Aubrey stands up and backs him up, and you always know that the person needs a second when the ref actually asserts themselves rather
Mhm.
than letting them,
Yep.
push him around. So that was scary, but, luckily he was okay, and again, the only person that got injured was Orange Cassidy, which we'll talk about soon. So apparently it was no lasting damage that we know of now. But then, shortly after that, Kingston gets suplexed by Jericho off the fucking apron to the floor. And I don't see that very often. That had to hurt. The collision with the ground made me cringe.
If I remember right, he flat backed that too. Like he just like straight landed. No, like it was brutal.
It's brutal, dude. So Jericho, man, you know my feelings about Jericho. I have not been on the Jericho train for some time. Every time he's on the fucking screen, I usually am texting Charlie like get this guy off the TV. I don't want to see him wrestle like a bunch of these talents that I love because they're boring. This motherfucker had like a mimosa match when he was Le Champion and he had his own little bit of the bubbly or whatever the fuck his champagne was called, and Orange Cassidy, orange juice, and he has a mimosa match. This is fucking stupid shit. I didn't like the Inner Circle. I didn't like Jericho. I especially didn't like Jericho as a babyface. It's important for viewers and listeners to remember. Jericho was one of my favorites early on, like in WWE when he came over and all that. I fucking love that era of Jericho. I love him in WCW. I love him in WWE for most of his time in WWE, at least through the 2000s. But then once he leaves toward the end of his WWE run, and once he goes to New Japan and now in AEW, I started to lose interest because he built himself up to kind of be, I don't want to say not fat, but like just like thick, you know what I'm saying? And he wanted to be more of a brawler, and that just never worked for me. And his promos, especially when he was a baby face, I thought they were so boring and performative. And he would always say this shit like, "Who's this guy think he is? Ted Nugent?" And he'd like say some stupid name. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like a musician, so he just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
name drops fucking every person. It's like this guy's, playing this guy just like Prince plays a guitar. It's like, that's a stupid line.
It's really dumb.
Like, why are you saying this shit?
For
Why are
somebody
you talking
who's
about Motorhead? You know what I'm saying?
historically
Like,
pretty good on the mic, yeah, that's pretty fucking stupid.
just stupid shit. It all felt so performative and so pop culture bullshit. And dude, as he started turning heel here and the lead up and the go home when he has that talk with Eddie, I'm like, fuck, dude, I kind of like Jericho right now. Like, this is a good spot. I'm only giving him this one, right? And then this fucking match, dude. I thought it was fucking awesome. This is Jericho's best match, hands down, in AEW. Hands down. Easy for me. I'll own my opinion. Hands down. Um, because I also am not a fan of like the Inner Circle Big Five, like 10-man brawls that they'd have. And I don't fuck all that. Like, I'm not into that. But the like the Stadium Stampede stuff, like it's fun to watch, but it's not like, I don't think it's like good. Like, I don't really like it. But he's like a serious heel here.
Mm.
That's huge. And he's not doing all this performative bullshit. He's like getting to the point, which is great. And the best part is he's playing the gimmick of a sports entertainer.
Yep.
So this is totally, of course, a dig on his former employment at WWE. And he is playing like, I mean, of course, Cody just left. Cody was always kind of known as more of a sports entertainer when he was at AEW, and everyone called it like the Codyverse, because his matches always felt so detached from everything else. Like it's a very specific thing. And I liked his matches. They were fine. But Jericho's like totally running with this. I'm not saying they correlate in any way, but I'm just saying like good coincidence at the very least. And yeah, so Jericho's doing this thing. I am so fucking for it. We'll come back to that whenever we get to the weekly shows. So Kingston always looks great though. This motherfucker selling this eye. You even text me. You're like, dude, he got his eye injured.
Yeah.
Like you bought it.
I did. I
That's how
100% bought
fucking
it.
good this is.
Yeah, I 100% bought it.
And we weren't the only ones because the crowd was fucking on fire during this match, dude.
Oh yeah,
This is like an emotional match. This is a brawl, in the best sense. Like Jericho's never looked so good physically, even like he's leaned up, he's shredded for Jericho. You know what I mean? Like, and he looks fucking good. Like I just like looking at him and watching him. Like he just fits that role he's doing now. Whereas before he just felt like past his prime. Like that's just every time I saw him, it's just like you're just here because you're like a wrestling legend now, which he is.
Yep.
But
No,
this
absolutely.
match, I was like, no, he's still a wrestler. Like he's still a thing. Like this was the match that made me finally say, no, you're not just a legend. You can make something off your name. You're still good.
Yep.
You have, if you're listening to this, you have to watch it. There's some great near falls, especially after Eddie's back fist.
Oh yeah.
But then eventually he gives him 2 back fists, and then he puts him in the stretch plum, which is an old kind of all Japan submission, and he fucking submits Jericho.
So that was the thing. I agree with everything. That match was super fun. I think the storytelling in the match was really good. Particularly the lead up and where it's going, I think is super interesting. But the main thing that sticks out in my mind is the finish. I was not ready for it. I was like, okay, he's just going to wear down that arm a little bit more, playing into the arm thing because Jericho had the beat up arm, the last go in between the last pay-per-view. And I was like, okay, he's just going to keep wearing it down. And we're going to see like some kind of crazy slam or something. Fucking Jericho just tapped. It literally took me off guard. I was like, I did not expect the match to end right there. I don't think I wanted to either.
I don't think the crowd expected it either.
I think and Eddie played it perfect. Even he seemed shocked. Like obviously, like nobody fucking saw it coming. And I think him playing into it probably helped some too, because I was 100% in on that match. I was along for the ride. I was part of that universe. But man, that finish it threw me off. And immediately after, I didn't like it. I was like, this is how we're gonna end this. It was my immediate reaction, but after I kind of let it sit and simmer and I went back and watched the match again, I was like, yeah, all right, this works. And when you really kind of pay attention to the whole thing happens and how it holds, it's solid. It's so good.
It's also awesome when you know Eddie Kingston's influences and how big of an all Japan pro wrestling fan he is.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to this like thing that, because this felt like an all Japan match. Like this is what that was like. Like this was just like a fucking brawl and it's brutal and people are getting dropped on their fucking heads. This is Japanese wrestling.
Hard bumps.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was awesome, and I can't wait to talk about Jericho some more later, which you will never hear me say that again, I doubt. But
yeah,
as of right now, I'm very excited to talk about it.
I did not like him very much either. I don't think I was as down on him as you were.
Well, I
haven't been watching
videos.
as long as you either, right? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of catching the tail end and the unraveling of certain things. I don't like him. I think he's a great wrestler, based on historically speaking. Until I started watching AEW 6-7 months ago, getting fully back into wrestling. I don't know what he was doing for a few years, but he's just a good wrestler. I wasn't loving the gimmick, the inner circle thing. I thought was a little hokey. But yeah, this match and like
especially the inner circle is fucking baby faces. God damn it. Get off my TV. I was everybody listening, I was sending videos to Charlie just saying, "Get off my screen, Jericho." And I would just like scream it at the top of my lungs cuz like I was just so tired of it.
Yeah.
And needless to say, over the last week you did not get any of those videos cuz I have been pleasantly surprised. We'll talk more about that later because we need to talk about possibly, I'm not convinced, but possibly the best show on the card.
Man.
Or the best match on the card. It's Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks, a triple threat tag
tornado.
tag match. Yeah. And just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen it, the way that these rules work is only 2 men can be in the ring at once. So one complete tag team is out at all times. But a lot of times there are blind tags, and sometimes someone is afraid they'll lose, so they have to tag out to the other team.
Yep, anybody can tag anybody.
But the trick of this one is the Young Bucks look so stupid with their goatees, and I just want to see them get their fucking asses kicked. And that's exactly what they want. I love it. I love them so much. I need that to be the first thing. So you guys have already learned, if you're watching this, you've already learned that we're marks for Eddie Kingston, period.
100%.
That's just the thing.
He's my favorite wrestler in AEW. No questions asked.
I will say if I don't think his match was good, but this one was particularly good. I am a fucking Young Bucks mark, period. Like, I love their matches. I love their gimmick. Like, Jim Cornette can go to hell on the Young Bucks because he thinks that they're basically ruining tag wrestling because they're like, they goof off. But the thing is, not only are they incredibly talented, and not only do they work together so well, but the whole point is, like, I never take it as they're not taking it seriously. I just take it as they're fucking assholes.
Yep.
And I want to see them get their asses kicked. That's what I want to happen. So when Nick Jackson's going, caw, and he's like being stupid, or he's doing his like his Macho Man, you can't see my whole body, but the point is when he's doing his Macho Man shit, right? Like, that's so annoying. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And in a way, it's like he is mocking.
Oh yeah.
You know 100%. What I mean? So it's like you just hate him. And I don't see how someone couldn't see that that's like intentional. Like, when they do that shit when they're baby faces, yeah, I get it. But come on. Anyways.
Especially Jim Cornette, who's been in the business forever. He should know exactly what's going on with these guys. And being part of that, he was that guy for a while, like doing that same shit. Like,
yeah.
Jim Cornette.
He would argue, but it doesn't matter. Fuck that guy. So, their goatees, cool. But anyways, the match starts, and as I predicted prior to, it's a 4-on-2 match. The Bucks and Red Dragon, basically are teaming up against semi-reluctantly. There's like a little hesitance, but it's a 4-on-2 against Jurassic Express. And that civility cannot last very long. Because as soon as people start to try to pin the Jurassic Express, whoever's in the ring, the other team, whether it be Red Dragon or the Bucks, have to jump in and stop it because then they will lose. And this starts an animosity between the two. Of course, this has been building for months. And it gets out of hand. So, but they're never in the ring together yet. And eventually, Jungle Boy is getting his ass handed to him like this whole match because there's 4 guys beating the shit out of him, and Luchasaurus can't do shit.
Yep.
Luchasaurus is probably the least talented guy of the bunch. Okay? I think we can probably say that. I'm not saying I don't like him. I like Luchasaurus a lot. I'm just saying out of the fucking 5 other dudes in the ring, it's just inevitable. Someone's got to be the worst, even though he's good.
Do you
get what I'm saying?
It is 100% him.
But everyone put him over. And I am almost convinced he's the best part of this fucking match. I mean, this dude looks fucking great. They're like putting him over left and right. Dudes are flying around. Every time he gets this hot tag, the crowd's going insane. They know how to work Luchasaurus to make him look equal. And again, testament to Red Dragon and the Bucks. Like, they know how to do that. And I also heard John Moxley, I believe it was, talk about, like, I think it was him, where he was talking about how he likes to just go in and call matches in the ring and beat the shit out of people. But the Bucks will like be in the back and they'll like talk about like 100 spots in this ring because they like to have an idea of what's going on so they can call it. And John Moxley was just talking to, I think it was him. And he was just talking about like, yeah, I would just like listen to him and then I just like go out and do shit, like, because there's just too much shit. But it's like, I feel like that shit pays off when you have people like Luchasaurus and people like that. Like, you can elevate them because you can plan those spots. And I'm sure if I were a wrestler, I'd be that way too because I'm just that meticulous.
You would 100% be that way.
But, so there's a point where Matt Jackson and Kyle O'Reilly finally are the legal men in the match. And they're the 2 people in the ring. And once they find out, they look at each other. And once the crowd realizes what's going on, it's the biggest pop of the fucking match. The crowd goes crazy when these 2 are in it, and it just tells you how much people want to see this rivalry. I'm so excited to talk more about that. But no one gives a fuck about the rules in these matches. This is something in
Done.
AEW that I wish refs would be more strict. This is the one thing I think AEW or WWE does really well is they like do give authority to the refs, and it's one of those things where, unlike the Jade match a couple weeks back, where she didn't kick out of a thing and Aubrey Edwards like literally just didn't count to three. In WWE, they will, and you just fucked up the storyline. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the tag ropes. I love that in FTR's contract you have to have tag ropes to wrestle them. That's
Do they
I don't know
really?
if
I
you know
didn't know
that.
that. I
Yeah,
had no idea. That's awesome.
I love the tag ropes thing. I wish there were more rules like that because it certainly gives more pressure. Because whenever someone's outside the ring for a full 2 minutes and no one's been counted out yet, I start to see a problem. But the problem is, you have all these lucha rules and shit too, where people just run in and out of the ring anytime they want.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining because this match fucking rules,
Oh my
but there were
god.
a lot of moments where it's like, this is all for the sake of a spot. And I really wish this would have just been put together in a way where the ref doesn't look like a fucking idiot. Because that's just what they come off to for me. Because the ref's just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, there's too much
But
chaos.
dude,
What am I gonna do? Doop, 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 doop,
yeah.
doop.
The crowd fight forever chants. I'm chanting right along with them. I never want this
Oh
to
my
end,
god. It
but it ended
was.
exactly how it should have.
Yep.
Jurassic Express takes the win. It really progresses the Red Dragon versus Young Bucks feud. I'm so here for this match, dude.
Dude, this match, and this was my match of the night, hands down. There's no question for me. It could have been the Face of the Revolution ladder match if it didn't follow this one, but we'll get there in a second. But in general, I think I predicted that Jurassic Express was going to win. I did predict that. And
Yeah.
they clearly were going to me, because this match was all about progressing Red Dragon and the Young Bucks, in my opinion. And they've done that to the point now where, or in that match rather, sorry, they did that really well. The tension build and the way it ends up playing out throughout the week, et cetera, it's going to boil over into probably one of the greatest fucking tag matches we'll ever see in AEW. I'm a huge Red Dragon guy. Next to, actually, they're probably my favorite tag team in it. Kyle O'Reilly, man, I just love that dude. I think he's really fun and a great wrestler, and tells the story in the ring in a really interesting way. But yeah,
I
man.
mean, when Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era left NXT, what a blow!
Yeah,
Because those three dudes, all of them, are incredible.
yeah, yeah.
And then whenever you put them in the ring with people like whether it be the Lucha Bros or uh, the Young Bucks or anyone like that, dude, holy shit! When you don't have to elevate anyone, when you're both elevating one another,
My God, you
it
get
looks
shit like
monster.
this because everybody, again, like you said, everybody in that ring the other night was fucking insanely good, right? And just spot after spot, constantly marked out. There's a few times like I got up, it's holy shit moments, right? And you're like actually animating. I was actually animating like throughout the night, and it was just really nice to see. But really, it was, I think, this and several other matches. What this card really did, and what I think this exemplifies, is the storytelling that's occurring pay-per-views like this. Like I said, this match was all about building that tension, right? While still being an amazing match. Predictable,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
building up to something else.
There was no way Jurassic Express was not gonna. They haven't done enough with their title reigns, so they need more time. And the other two teams don't need the belts.
Yep.
Quite frankly, I mean they have plenty to go off of without. They have plenty of celebrity, so to speak, with wrestling fans,
Yeah.
and they're fine. So, for as much as I would have loved to have seen either one of those as the champs, Jurassic Express had to win.
Still, yeah. And I
Um,
think they will
yeah.
continue to until pay-per-view. When we
Well,
talk
see,
about
that's the good
Dynamite,
thing,
I'll get
though.
to that.
Well, that's the good thing though, because the way that actually I am going to wait too, because I was about to get into a spiel that I want to talk about when we get to Dynamite. So. But yeah, Jurassic Express, that's who I had predicted to win. So did you. And we won that one. Dude, I missed out on a bunch of these. But what's funny is even when we did on the podcast that you were on of mine, my movie podcast, Medium Cool, a movie podcast, which is about as smooth as this Conquest coffee I'm drinking from our friends at King Coast Coffee.
It's not Conquest.
Please.
You fucked it up already. Conquerors.
Conqueror. Very smooth. Much smoother than I just was. Anyways, I'm just gonna move on. Yeah, right there. No,
Nope,
hold on.
yeah,
This
there
way,
you go.
this way, that way, right there. Okay. We'll get used to this eventually.
We're doing it
Face
live,
of the
folks.
Revolution. Yeah. Yeah. Face of the Revolution match. I don't remember what I was saying, so I'll come back to it. Face of the Revolution match. This is a 6-man, for those of you who don't know, 6-man ladder match. There's a big Sonic the Hedgehog ring, basically, and you have to climb a ladder and get the ring. It's kind of a stupid gimmick. I wish it was just like something normal
Anything
or like
else?
a normal
Money in
ring,
the
not
bank.
like anything. Yeah, I don't really care, but it's fine. Dude, even a laminated piece of paper.
Yeah,
I don't give a
I didn't
fuck.
get it.
Like,
Having not seen one of these before, that giant ring really fucking confused me. Like, I was like, why are they grabbing an inner tube? Like, is what I didn't get.
dude, yeah.
Is there
Are you
ever
go-
been explanation as to why it's that? Or is
I
it
don't
just come
remember.
out and this is just the way Tony Khan wants it?
I don't remember. I feel like there is, but it's a stupid reason. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, the reason could be
But
amazing, but it's still a
yeah,
dumb item.
yeah, and it's also awkward to hold. Like every time they get it, like they just don't know what to do with it.
Warlow's
You know
just
what I'm
kind
saying?
of like
Yeah.
trying to hold it and stuff.
So, Face of the Revolution ladder match is Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow. Those are the hosses of the match.
Yeah.
And then you have Christian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Orange Cassidy, the little boobs of the match. And as Keith Lee is walking out, JR says, he looks like a big old refrigerator with a head on it. And I fucking popped so hard. You guys have to understand how I'm watching this pay-per-view. I'm on vacation and took my daughter to Disney World. And I'm in the hotel room and I'm staying up after my family goes to sleep. I'm in the pitch black. I'm in a corner. Okay. And I'm just watching this on my laptop. And I'm trying so hard not to pop out loud. That one popped me. Like I started cracking up. And then shortly after that, Orange Cassidy. All right, so there's this great spot where Orange Cassidy gets this ladder and he puts his head in it and he's swinging around, he's hitting everybody. And Keith Lee grab it. Keith Lee and Wardlow grab each end and they lift it up, and they're bigger and taller than him, so he just gets lifted off the ground.
It's so
But then
good.
he skins the cat on top of it, and he almost grabs the ring, the Sonic ring, which it will now forever be known on our podcast.
Yep.
And so, so they like start shaking it, you know, and he ends up balling himself. Like he just falls and splits those balls. And and Taz says, "Yam bag Yahtzee." Yam bag Yahtzee. It is my favorite quote of ever, probably. I think that is the fucking funniest thing ever.
Coming from Taz and just the way he speaks, it was fucking chef's kiss. It was so good.
It is get the paper, watch this pay-per-view just for that. It's that good.
You probably just find the clip on YouTube.
Dude, I straight up popped out loud for both of these in the same match, and I was able to hold it together for most everything else. So, just long story short, I mean, this is your typical kind of 6-man big match, Money in the Bank type thing. Everyone's trying to go for it. No one can. There's a point where there's a ladder standing up, right? And then someone takes a folded ladder and puts it on one of the rungs of the ladder and then on the ropes and builds a bridge. And Wardlow starts to climb up the ladder. And then Ricky Starks ends up jumping. Oh, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. First off, Wardlow fights Keith Lee and Powerhouse Hobbs all the way to the stage back near the announce booth. Ends up shoving them off the fucking stage. So they're out. They're kaputs. Ruined my guess, which we'll talk about in a second. Which, well, we'll get there. So then he comes back in, power bombs the fuck out of Christian Cage, power bombs the fuck out of Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
And when I say power bombs the fuck out of Ricky Starks, he tries to climb up the ladder with Wardlow. Wardlow gets into a power bomb position. Ricky Starks, mind you, about a year ago, had a neck injury that he was out for a long time. And that motherfucker gets power bombed on his neck on the fucking ladder that is a bridge. Okay,
And mind you, if
on
you've
his
never
head,
seen Ricky Starks before, he is about a quarter of the size of Wardlow.
little dude
Yeah, he's
in
tiny.
comparison. Though,
Wardlow fucking
like
crushed
Wardlow's a
him.
little dude in comparison to Keith Lee. Jesus, that guy's huge.
It's
He's just a
disturbingly
big boy.
huge. He is a big, big boy.
So, anyways, because dude, you even see him up against Brock Lesnar in WWE, and he doesn't look small,
Yeah.
and that's just a rare thing. I mean, even like Roman Reigns looks small in comparison to Brock. But anyways,
Brock has slimmed down
so
recently, but yeah. I know what you're saying though.
yeah,
Cowboy Brock Lesnar.
so yeah. So, anyways, Wardlow wins though. He gets the Sonic ring, and in my prediction, I said Keith Lee because he's the new boy and he's the guy that should be pushed.
So
But I
fucking over
also
too.
said,
So
yeah, he's
over.
so over and he's so good. He's
Bask in
incredible.
his glory, baby.
Bask in his glory. And here's the thing, though. Wardlow wins, but when on Medium Cool Movie Podcast, my other podcast, you can get on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or any other podcast network that you listen to. And when we were talking about it, we did some bonus content, kind of prepping for the show and giving people a little taste,
The gabagool.
And God damn it. And yeah, so in my prediction, I said Keith Lee, but I had an addenda, like a caveat.
Hmm?
And the caveat was I think it's a better chance that Wardlow will win because of the MJF feud.
Yep.
But it depends on how they're going to play out MJF and CM Punk. Therefore, I'm gonna just go with Keith Lee. Wardlow will probably win. Like that was my thing.
Yep.
So I kind of guessed it, but I was wrong.
Get half point on that
Admittedly, I
one.
was just wrong.
Get a half point on that.
Yeah, my choice was wrong, but I was there. I was there.
You knew it was gonna happen.
This was the fucking way it should have ended. Now that we've seen the full week, dude.
Oh my
fuck
fucking god.
yes.
I can't
So the
wait till
next
we get the
spot,
Dynamite.
dude, yeah. So the next spot is the contract signing. Tony Schiavone comes out at the top of the stage and he announces there's going to be contract signing. I had no idea this was happening, so I'm like stoked. And I mean, you had texted me and said because you watched it live, I had to watch it later.
Oh,
and,
we're moving too fast. This is where Orange Cassidy got hurt.
Oh fuck yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
So before we jump, Face of the Revolution, before Wardlow wins and before Keith Lee's knocked out of it, Keith Lee does a Beal. If anybody doesn't know what a Beal is, go watch his debut match. I know that's on YouTube, the spot where he Beals Isaiah Cassidy. It's basically where he takes you by the armpit and he just chucks you as far as you can fucking go, and he will throw you across the 20-foot by 20-foot ring. And he chucks Orange Cassidy over the ropes, and Orange Cassidy, like the top fifth of his body hits people, and he just misses them because he chucks them over him, and he just lands on his shoulder.
There's
and he
like
injured his
four people
shoulder.
there that try and catch him too, and like it just right fucking over them.
Bask in his glory.
Bask in his
And
glory.
so Keith Lee doesn't know his own strength because he threw him so far, he went over the guys, and he landed on his shoulder. He got injured, unfortunately. Only injury of the night, but that is good shout. I'm glad that we stopped there. But anyway, so contract signing, Tony Schiavone's out there, and I had no idea this was going to happen. You said that they had an acquisition. I was like, oh, fuck, can't wait. So I watched this, and it is Swerve Strickland.
Hell yeah.
This is a former NXT WWE talent with Hit Row faction. He was also in CZW, Lucha Underground, all kinds of stuff. Dude's like a hip-hop artist, too.
Lots and lots of championships.
Dude, charisma out the ass. I mean, this guy just exudes charisma.
So suave.
So anyways, he comes out and he announces he's going to wrestle. I forget if it was Dynamite or Rampage, but either way, we'll get to it. But anyways, so that was cool. It was cool to see him come in. Any thoughts on
I'm just glad
Swerve?
he's here. I know him from, I knew his NXT. I never really watched it though. I knew him from CZW. You know him, big CZW guy. And so I've seen his matches there, and I've always been a fan. He is just a suave motherfucker, right? Like he in the ring, outside the ring, he's just cool as cucumber the entire time. And like and it shows off in the way in which he wrestles as well, which is just super fun to watch. But
He does
I was
something
just
in
so
there-
pumped.
Yeah, he does something in that Rampage match that I'll get to. That was suave as fuck. Are you talking about cool as a cucumber?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I know the spot you're talking about or thinking.
You
of.
have to.
Yeah.
It's like the one.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So contract signing, great acquisition for AEW. for Tony Khan saying he's going to cut back on talent that he's bringing in. He's been bringing in a lot of talent lately. We'll get to that when we get to Dynamite as well.
Big talent too.
Next up is Jade Cargill and Ty Conte. I'm waiting. Cue Charlie's eye roll.
Who cares?
You know what? Despite it being again clunky, and despite Ty botching a pin at one point,
It was bad.
I actually thought this was really good energy. And Jade, there's a point where Anna Jay comes out to save Ty Conti because they're like buds,
Yep.
and Jade pump kicks her into a table, and I mean like into the side of the table, not through it. Straight up, just like pump kicks her, and Anna Jay's dead. Like, like she hits so weird. I think Jade has one of the best pump kicks in AEW. Like it just looks brutal. But I actually thought this had really good energy. Ty Conti can be really good. She's often not as good as she can be. However, I think it was last year, she did win like Wrestling Observer's Most Improved Wrestler, because if you had watched her when she came in, she's actually like really good relatively to when she came in, and she continues to get better. And my problem with Ty Conti has been, you can tell that she's trying things, she's seeing what gets over, and a lot of times they're either botched or they aren't cool. But then she stops using them, so she's learning. And I can't wait for her to finally get into that groove, because I think she has a good energy. She's feisty. It seems like, I could be wrong, I could eat these words, but recently it seems like she's not the happy-go-lucky, comes out with the big smile, waving. Like, she seems to have way more attitude now. I want this Ty Conti. So I'm excited to see her. She has great judo tosses. She has great pump kicks in the corner. So I want to see more of her, and I want to see her grow. Jade, still green. Cool. You said cool as a cucumber. She's green as a cucumber. But she same thing. She keeps getting better, and I'm kind of grading this on their improvement. I actually thought this match was good, relatively speaking. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
I don't think it was great, but I think it was a good outing for these two. I'm glad it was on the show. I'm glad there was representation with the women's division. And it was for the TBS championship, but Jade retains, and she goes on to 28 or 29-0.
29-0.
I know at this point the next match is 30. I just forget when 29 came out. But the point is, yeah, she's kicking ass right now. I think Jade should retain. I think she has more room to grow with that. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anyone, unless she gets into something with like Ruby Soho or someone like that, that really needs the TBS title. So, and quite frankly, she's been a ratings mover. Like, people actually tune into her spots more than others. And she's a draw. So in terms of AEW, I mean, she's a good champion. So I wish she would make her hair white again. I thought she looked way cooler with white hair.
Well, she's doing the whole,
to each their own, but
really leaning into the Jade thing now. Particularly the outfit that she came in, obviously reminiscent of Jade from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. Again, you're right. I guess relative, it was a fine women's match. It's just, there's no story behind it. It just wasn't there for me. It's like, I really don't care who wins. There was some issues. It was a wrestling match. I have no real opinion on it. I don't like Jade. I think she is way too green to be a champion this soon. She needs a lot of work. Should Ty Conte have taken it? No, she shouldn't have. But this is just one of those matches. Glad it was there. Cool. But I had no real strong feelings either way.
Yeah, I actually do like Jade, but it's mostly I like where you can go. You know what I'm saying? Because she has talent.
She has great physical presence.
Now.
She has great physical presence. Mic skills and technique need some work, I think.
Yeah. She can say that bitch show pretty well, but that's about all she gets on the mic. But that's why she has a lawyer homie.
Right.
He's a fun talker. And
yeah, he talks fast and he makes up where she lacks in that department for sure.
Yeah, and that's how you roll, man.
Yeah.
And we'll get to some other promos when we get to like Dynamite and Rampage and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot to say about promos. The next match is another contender for my favorite of the night, and that is CM Punk versus MJF. Now, This is a dog collar match. They beat us over the head with the Piper Valentine match, dog collar match, which is the other most famous dog collar match. I've seen other dog collar matches. I don't like them. I think they're very gimmicky and boring. This was not that.
Was not. No,
This
it
was
was not.
hands down the best dog collar match, at least since Piper Valentine, if not better. Wow. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. It's important that everybody understands. We are both also MJF marks,
Oh,
though
yeah.
I like CM Punk and Charlie doesn't that much. But MJF, we are both marks for. So, like, we were both stoked about this. Plus, hands fucking down. Like, Orange Cassidy in the pockets down. Okay. This was the best lead in match on the pay-per-view. Like, the way that they set this match up, the emotion behind it, the promo with MJF basically the babyface promo that he put out
Yep.
talking about how, he was
Let down by CM
a
Punk.
fan and let it down and all that shit. And then like the go home show where he beats the fuck out of Punk and makes
yeah.
him bleed. And man, this was just a great, like, this is the shit that I remember when I think of like the Attitude Era and stuff. Like, I think of this level, even though if you watch all the Attitude Era shit, most of it sucks. But it's like you remember those good things because they're incredible. You know what I mean? This is on that level to me. This lead in, because you have two incredible talkers. You have a gimmick match that they do well, which, like, what the fuck? So I'm not even talking about the match yet. And I'm like so hyped. So MJF, I love how he comes out. So we start off with CM Punk's music, okay? And then it very quickly shifts to his own bump, and it just kicks in, and the crowd fucking, they went ape shit, and then when MJF's music comes in, they boo
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah. He got some
And
heat from that.
he is incredible at getting heat. He's easily the best at it.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, so this is also reminiscent of what a lot of people thought he was going to do when Punk came in. Like, a lot of people thought when they did the United Center show that MJF was just gonna like Punk wasn't gonna show up and MJF was just gonna play his music just to get heat, which would have been a terrible choice.
Yeah. That would have been the
Um,
wrong choice, hands down.
oh yeah, that would have definitely hurt the reputation. But anyway, so that happens, and then Punk comes out. I mean, of course, they played that Living Color song or whatever that he comes out to, because he's not using that this time. He's using his old Ring of Honor intro, old school. He's playing the AFI theme, and he's doing old school Punk shit. And man, they start brawling. Now, it starts off, and it's not as emotional up front. Like, they just kind of start beating each other up and doing kind of traditional dog collar match spots. But pretty quickly, MJF beats the fuck out of Punk and opens him up, and he's just like basically just like mounting him and just screaming into his face. And then he jumps out of the ring because this chain is like forever long. And he walks over to the or like the side table where like the medic and stuff is, the doctor. And he goes, "Give me the fucking mic." And when he said fucking mic, I actually like I gasped because I forgot this isn't TV. You know what I mean? And I actually got nervous. And then of course the announcers like apologize for the language, everybody. But he just straight up just says, "Give me the fucking mic," and I thought that was great. And after that, it's all psychology and storytelling. Now, folks, something you have to understand is Charlie and I met in a storytelling degree. We were in grad school together. Storytelling is our jam. That's probably where we're going to come at a lot of the wrestling we talk about. That's kind of our niche, our niche, so to speak, where we're going to be coming from. Of course, we love high spots. We love all the fun stuff, but storytelling is a big part of our lives. And this is, I mean, just to the nines with storytelling here. Punk is the greatest at getting color. Like,
Dude
he was
how does he bleed so well? I don't get it. I do not understand. Like, I don't know if he's just popping blood thinners beforehand or if he has squibs somewhere or what, but dude, holy shit, he bleeds.
So he bleeds the Wednesday before on Dynamite. And then if you watch, and I don't know if this is what happened, but I think he has a blade. And, well, he does, but I mean, I think
Yeah.
he has a blade, and there's a point where MJF hits him. I think whenever he has the chain around his hand, I think he hits him, and you see CM Punk do this, and I think he just literally jabbed himself. Um,
Interesting.
it's it's fucked because I'm pretty sure he also tucks the blade in his mouth like they used to as well because he doesn't toss that anywhere.
Yeah.
I was like watching for it too. Um,
Well, sometimes they give it to the
um,
ref too, but I don't
yeah,
remember seeing
yeah.
a moment where that would have happened.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. So,
Actually,
anyways, Crimson Mask,
I
dude.
do, because they were on the outside, and the ref changed gloves when he was down looking next to he was kind of like looking over CM Punk. I mean, that's probably when it happened. That's neither here nor there, but I do remember
No,
the
it
ref
probably is. It
specifically
probably is.
changing
Yeah.
gloves.
No, you're right. So there's a good chance. Yeah, he could have also tucked it in the gloves. That's
No,
smart. But anyways, Crimson Mask, as JR would say. I mean, just completely bloody. There's a
so
point
good.
though where Punk turns it around. They're outside the ring, and he's just throwing him into the steel steps. And right before he throws him into the steel steps, some guy in the crowd says, "Eat shit, pussy!" at MJF. He just screams that. And I fucking lost it. But this is the turning point of the match though, because he throws him into the steel steps, and Punk wraps this chain that's around their neck. He wraps it around his knee, and he's gonna just run and just knee
Mm,
MJF between the steel steps and the knee with a chain
man,
on it.
yeah,
And MJF moves, and he just smokes it with his knee. And it's just like reverse. It just reversed everything, and the
yep.
turning point happens. And at this point, the match really starts to slow down. And you have to understand this. And I mean that in a positive way.
Oh yeah,
Every match up to this point has been quick and big, right? There are spots constantly. It's keeping your attention. The Eddie Kingston Jericho fight, quick.
yeah,
The of course the three-way tag match was. I mean, look who's in the match. It's
right.
just
It was
boom, 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 boom,
moving
boom,
the
super
entire time,
fast.
just flying around the ring.
Yeah. The ladder match, same thing. There's 6 guys in the ring all at
Always
once
something
at any
happening.
time. Like,
I
always
think
a pair of people.
I think at one moment it stopped when all the big guys were staring each other down for 2 seconds. Like that was the only time there was a pause in that match.
The only time, man.
Um,
And so this slows down. Again, storytelling, psychology,
mm,
everything's playing. They're both beat to hell by the end. I'm pretty sure they're both bleeding
yep,
at one point. Like, they're both fucking bloody.
yep.
And like an idiot, at one point, MJF, after they're fucked up, they're exhausted, he brings thumbtacks into the mix,
Oh yeah.
which is ridiculous. And eventually, I didn't write who now, but somebody gets superplexed onto the thumbtacks. Um,
It was Punk. It was Punk. Punk got superplex on.
yeah, yeah, that's what I was leaning toward because of my next note. But after he gets superplexed, and he tries to pin him, and of course the ref like does the 1, 2, 3, and he winces because he hits attack. Um, and anyways, yeah, I feel bad for refs when tacks are dropped because they're just fucked at that point. So, anyways, after he tries to pin him and fails the pin, MJF calls for Wardlow. Wardlow comes down after getting the Sonic ring and the 6-man Face of the Revolution.
And a nice suit,
And
mind
this is,
you.
yeah, and this is the fucking greatest.
This
This is
is
the greatest.
this was
This is what you and I have
incredible,
talked about for months.
and it couldn't have
This
been
is a
better.
two.
Could
This is
not have
like
been
a
better.
2.5, 3 year build. Ever since Wardlow came in, he's been the schmuck doing all the dirty work. And slowly and slowly and slowly, they've been building him. He's had enough. He's had enough. And finally, he comes up and he starts reaching because MJF's like, "Give me the ring, give me the ring." And for those of you who don't know, the Dynamite Diamond Ring is something that MJF's won 3 years in a row in a battle royale of sorts. And whenever you win, you get this like $50,000 ring or whatever. And but what he does is for 3 years he's cheated with it. That's how he's beaten all of the big guys. He gets the ring. Wardlow usually gives it to him in some way, and he clocks the dude. It's like brass knuckles. Basically, he's knocked out. Well, Wardlow's reaching his pockets. He can't find the ring, and at this moment, Punk basically gets MJF in a way where, excuse me, he's able to basically put MJF down on these tacks. And I forget exactly how he does it. But whenever MJF hits those tacks, dude, his expression is perfect.
Mm,
It's so priceless. It's so old school. But as he does that, Punk looks back at Wardlow, and Wardlow like reaches into his pocket and you see he makes a face, and you see him and Punk looking at each other, and the crowd starts to go crazy. And then he pulls the ring out, and the crowd fucking pops bigger. And then Wardlow sits it down on the ring for Punk, and the crowd pops bigger because now we have the turn. This is the official turn. And he gives the ring to CM Punk, and he walks away with this very free, happy smirk. And Punk, after 3 years of MJF cheating to win with this fucking thing, he finally gets what he deserves. Talk about long-term storytelling.
Mhm.
And Punk puts that ring on and fucking clobbers him,
Yeah.
pins him for the 1, 2, 3. Dude, this is by far, for me personally, the best dog collar match I've ever seen. For me, it lived up to the hype,
Yeah.
to the build. Did it live up to the build for you?
It did. It absolutely did. And my note specifically says, this is, in my opinion, perfect example of storytelling in wrestling, right? This is something that has been built up for months. The twists and turns to get us there, the different promos that were shot, the backstabbing that went back and forth. I think the first time MJF did the babyface promo, I believed, like, I was bought in again. I was like, what is happening here? And then I messaged you like later that day. I was like, there's no way he's turning, but man, that was fucking good, right?
Yeah.
The way
And
they
my
set
response,
it up.
yeah, my response was, I don't know how I feel about this until I see what he does next,
Yeah.
because it was weird. But then as soon as he turned on Punk the following week for the go home,
Oh yeah.
I thought it was the greatest fucking promo ever.
It
Like,
was.
that's what needed to happen for
Yeah.
me to love that promo retroactively.
Oh yeah. And I've been saying this ever since I started in on AEW. MJF is the best on the mic in that promotion. The way he can work a crowd and the way he can manipulate the situation is incredible. And that back and forth between him and Punk the past few months, really incredible, right? And yeah, I'm not huge on CM Punk. However, going back to the ROH, like, badass CM Punk, I'm a little bit more interested now, particularly after his quick thing on Dynamite, which we'll talk about.
If we ever get there.
If we ever fucking get there. But yeah.
We're almost there though. We're not too far off.
But yeah,
I won't have nearly as much to say about some of these because this match was so good.
Yeah, there's a couple here and whatever. But yeah, the accumulation with Wardlow at the end there, primo, because it closes the door with MJF and CM Punk, and then that new
100%.
door is immediately fucking opened. Immediately
But
opened.
it's fluid. I mean, this is as smooth,
So good.
much like the coffee I'm drinking from King's Coast Coffee.
What's it called?
Um,
What's the name of that coffee?
Conquer.
All right.
So just so we know, right there in the doobly-doo there. So, anyways, but it's as smooth as like the WrestleMania 13 Brett versus Stone Cold double turn. Like,
Man.
the way that this fluidly goes, like, Punk's done. Punk's going for the title now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I fully 100% believe he's the next Adam Page.
How is he not?
Once the Page Cole thing ends, but I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself here. We can talk about that later. So, the next match on the card is for the women's AEW title: Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa.
Before you get into this, fuck you, because you got me to change my prediction based on things you were saying. Should have stayed it right. I would have been 7-2. Wait. But I'm 6-3.
I thought you put Britt.
I did not. After we had that conversation, before I posted officially my predictions, I made the change to Thunder.
Well, I'll just say this. I still think that this was the wrong move, but we'll talk about that. Because it leads into what we'll talk about next week for Dynamite. Yep. So Britt versus Thunder Rosa. Britt, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter all come out. Of course, Rebel and Jamie Hayter, Britt's entourage, interfere the whole match, and pretty much get heat for it. And when you have two people on the outside on opposite sides of the ring, someone's always distracting the ref, and someone's always beating the shit out of the other person. And much like MJF's Dynamite Diamond Ring, Britt's Diamond Ring has been Rebel and Jamie Hayter. So that happens. It's a pretty vicious cat fight, dude. This did not live up to my expectations, but I still like the match. best women's match on the whole card. Um,
Yeah, easily.
for sure.
But look who's in it. I mean,
But when you see their lights out match, you have expectations, and this did not meet them for me, but I still liked it. It's vicious, man. I mean, they really hit each other
yeah,
hard, dude.
there's
Like
some.
they're beating the shit out of each other.
There was a few times I was like, Jesus, they're not like. It did not look like they were pulling the punches at all. Like it was
Yeah,
pretty brutal.
yeah. A few times in the match, they didn't seem like they knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah,
Like there were
there's.
times where they kind of like fumbled with each other,
Yeah.
and that's really if that was cleaned up, this probably would have met my expectations. But there were times where it just really it was like a spike down,
I'm
right?
wondering
And
if
then
they went in blind and they were just trying to play it in the ring and going with the flow, which may have been a mistake. Um,
yeah, I'm not sure, man. Because
'Cause
you
I,
know
I
me, I'm not
noticed
a
that
huge
too.
hardcore match guy, but man, their lights out was incredible.
Yeah.
I was super, super into that. So anyway, still a great match though. I thought this was
It's
really
good.
good.
Mhm.
And the crowd was fucking into it like 1 minute and then dead others,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing that kind of that's when I really started to notice, like, man, this is kind of a hot and cold match. Not really what I had expected. Pales in comparison to Lights Out match, but still good. Great near fall with a curb stomp on the title.
Mhm, mhm.
My God, I mean the pop after that kick out was great.
Oh yeah.
Britt wins, of course, after interference. Gets another curb stomp in for the win. I am still a I'm firmly in Thunder Rosa's corner. She should have won that one because I truly believe she's going to win next Wednesday. That's my prediction. We'll get to that
Same.
later. Um, because it's also near or in her hometown. I forget exactly where she's from, but
Near. She's from San
it would,
Antonio.
yeah, and I think that's where they are actually.
Oh, I thought it
Next
was
on
no. I thought it was. It doesn't matter. I thought it was
doesn't
it's
matter. The
someplace.
point is,
The
it's
next three
close
shows
enough.
are in Texas. They'll be there
Yeah,
sooner or later.
yeah. So with it being her hometown, I think it's a fucking pointless elongating of this feud. It's fucking stupid. But so I still stand by my prediction in spite. However, I was wrong.
Mhm.
It will come to pass,
It
but
will.
not yet apparently.
And I agree.
So
Like the whole rationale as to why, right? You know, Britt Baker doesn't need the title anymore, et cetera, et cetera. It should have ended there, and I actually agree with you. It is the smart way to end that story and move on from the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker thing. However, um, I feel like they just missed the mark somewhere. Like, why are we doing this a week after, Revolution? Right, the steel cage thing. I
Dude,
get it. Now it's finally time. There's going to be no interference. Blah 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 blah. It should have happened at Revolution, right? It just feels
I
like a
100%
weird
agree.
spot to put this match. And timing wise, it
Dude,
just doesn't make sense to me.
it's
It's
only because of the hometown thing. Because check this out, man.
they're just trying to get that super fucking just super hype and over
Well,
for when
I
she
think they also
inevitably
wanna
wins.
yeah, I think they want a rubber match because, we have to remember Thunder Rosa won the lights out match.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't count against her record because it was lights out,
Yep.
but Britt Baker kind of came out like, it's easy to think of her as the winner because she came out as, like, the highlight
Well,
of that.
didn't she
She just
win
fucking
some award from PWI for that match? Like
yeah.
match of the year or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, dude, it was awesome, and but she was, like, the highlight of the I mean, they both obviously worked it, but she was the one that came out of it on top,
Which she
even though,
openly says in
Thunder
all
Rosa
of her
won,
shoots and promos.
has to. But then, like, so Britt wins this one, so you have the rubber match, right? Now they're equals if Thunder Rosa beats Britt twice in a row, but that's fucking stupid psychology. It's been a fucking year. Just let her win the fucking title.
Yeah, it's
And
just
it's fucking stupid because we can talk about this later, but I'm just gonna bring this up, which is probably a can of worms, but it's fucking stupid that every person that loses a fucking title shot has to start all the way back at the bottom, and Thunder Rosa starts at number 2. I don't give a shit about what her record is. This, like, goes against everything that's happened prior. I don't care if it makes sense.
Hmm.
Like, it's stupid. For a week, this is as stupid to me as whenever Cody he won the fucking TNT title, and then he had COVID, so he couldn't be there, so they did an interim title, and then fucking Sammy Guevara wins, and then they unite the titles, quote unquote, even though there are still 2 of them. And that was a
it's dumb.
fucking stupid thing because that happened within like 3 weeks.
Right.
The fuck was the interim title for? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean,
Sometimes rare misses here at AEW, and this was one of them in my opinion.
I agree.
But the match was good. Match was good.
It was a fine match. It's just the Booker's making a strange decision here. In my opinion, this should have ended. This should be over with, and we should be moving on from it.
You could be in her hometown. You could be starting a new feud instead of ending one. But
Who,
it'd be a good match. I'm
who would
excited.
that be with? Thunder Rosa and who?
Yeah, what what bad guy? You know what I'm saying?
Jade Cargill?
Serena Deeb, maybe.
Serena. Well, no, because that's going to be what's her name? Sheeta.
Cheetah. But if yeah, well, Serena's not. I mean,
we'll get there. We'll get there. We're getting ahead. It's this fucking timeline that we're working on. I hate it. This fucking pay per view messes up the show.
Pay-per-view's fucking him a shit.
Yep.
But then another contender for best match of the night for me, Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. I popped so fucking hard so many times during this match.
You know, in porn, popping means to come. Anyway,
we're talking about wrestling, dude. So I don't know what you're talking about. You bring up porn too much.
Well, I was thinking about that movie that we talked about on your podcast, Medium Cool podcast, available on Spotify.
Yeah,
and
Medium
Apple.
Cool movie podcast. You can hear how much Charlie loves to talk about porn.
Love it. Absolutely love
he
it.
talked about it a lot. Anyways, so Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson starts off in Danielson's wheelhouse. We have some more just like traditional wrestling. They're really trying to make Mox look kind of more like a shoot wrestler, I felt. Doesn't really work. He's a brawler. So whenever he does kind of like proper wrestling stuff, it just like looks weird to me. It's a little clunky. Not in a bad way. It's just how he works. But man, the crowd is hot for Mox. Holy shit. They're so into this. They're not really ready to quite boo Bryan Danielson properly yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But man, they're real hot for Mox.
Yep.
Big chance as they start to just brawl. Like once they finally get past the shoot stuff and like the proper like classic wrestling, they get into. And when I say that, I don't mean like Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit type shoot wrestling. I'm not talking about that. I just mean like the old, like proper classic pro wrestling, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what Bryan Danielson's so good at. And Moxley is just a brawler, you know? So anyways, whenever that happens though, people go crazy. I fucking love Bryan Danielson. This is there's no secret to this. And he's fucking vicious in this, dude. He's like, the whole gimmick, the whole story going into this is violence, right? And they both have a different type of violence. And those are both shining here. Yep. Jon Moxley's violent in his own way.
Sandman
Bryan
vibes from
violent
Moxley,
in his,
which I love.
Dude, but talk about not pulling punches.
Yeah, they were going in.
Holy shit, these guys were like beating the fuck out of each other.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Mox tried to turn a hanging front headlock into his release, like one of his release duplexes, and it was very sloppy. Like, again, going back to when they're in Danielson's wheelhouse, Moxley doesn't always shine there, but they always kind of get back around. It's a bit of a wonky finish, I think. Bryan Danielson. So I'm already talking myself out of this whole contender for best match. I just really love it still. But objectively, I would probably look at it as there's a few wonky moments. Bryan Danielson had Mox in a triangle submission hold. Mox somehow did like a flip over Bryan Danielson and just like pinned him.
Yeah, the most devastating move in wrestling.
Yeah, dude. And dude, like the crowd almost was taken aback.
Yeah.
Like
it came out of nowhere.
Like I just didn't. It came out of nowhere, and then Bryan Danielson sat up surprised and like started shit with Bryce Remsburg, the ref, because he's just like, "What the fuck," you know? Because I think what they were trying to do was like Bryan Danielson thought Mox tapped, but Mox pinned him, but like Danielson would have heard the count. Like I don't know. It was a wonky finish.
Yeah.
But the fucking best thing happens post match.
This is what made the match for me.
100%. Dude, Bryan Danielson starts brawling with Moxley because he's pissed that he lost because he doesn't think he should have, and he thinks he can beat him, and they're still raring to go, and they start brawling. And security comes out, and they're beating the fuck out of security, and they don't give a fuck. And then who decides to walk out of that and down the aisle to the fucking biggest pop? The crowd blows up. None other than William Regal. And
Lord.
Regal, yeah, dude, he walks down, gets in the ring, tells them to stop their shit and shake hands, and then he just fucking hauls off and slaps Mox.
dude.
And then and Brian's just like
He's like fucking
this
laughing.
is the
He's like,
man.
ah.
Yeah, and then he gets fucking clobbered with an open hand slap in the face.
Oh yeah.
And then that kind of wakes them both up because they both have a history, of course, with William Regal.
Mm,
Danielson was trained by Regal. He was trained by so many great Shawn Michael. I mean, dude, he was trained by so many great people. But William Regal is one of them.
And if you're not
And
familiar with Regal and why this matters, he is often considered one of the best technical wrestlers in the business to ever live. Right? He's just an incredible wrestler. Right? He doesn't do the hardcore
yeah,
stuff. He doesn't do anything flashy. But
well, he's a British
can
wrestler.
Yeah,
It's a British style, and that's what they do. And
highly
very much like a
regarded.
Danielson thing.
Yeah, highly regarded.
Yeah. And so he's very, very, and he ran NXT during the glory years. Like he was one of the
Yeah.
heads running that whenever you had
Dude's a
the
fucking legend.
Undisputed Era. And yeah, I mean, of course, Triple H was running the show, but I mean, William Regal was like in the creative and doing all that. Um, he is a legend. He had a lot of a weird history. He outed Goldberg as a shit wrestler.
Yep.
Whenever when Eric Bischoff in WCW said, "Hey, Steven Regal," which is what he was called then.
Yep. Oh, it's
Hey,
Steven
Steven Regal, make this match 6 minutes because Goldberg was having 1-minute matches and 2-minute matches, and he tries to hold 6 minutes. And go on YouTube and try to find this shit, or get on Peacock or something. It's the fucking worst. Goldberg doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. William Regal still calls it his worst match ever. He buries Goldberg.
Yeah,
Dude,
as he should.
terrible.
Goldberg sucked, but that's a
He
different
sucked.
conversation. Maybe for TikTok.
William Regal's the best. The point is, the crowd starts to chant yes, the old Danielson thing,
Oh, yeah.
as Regal tells them to shake hands. They shake hands. The roof fucking blows off the whole fucking building. And we see a united group with a heel and a baby face, which is very interesting. I look forward to seeing how John Moxley and Bryan Danielson, they're united in violence.
Yeah.
And in Regal. But Moxley's still a babyface, and as far as we know, Danielson's still a heel. And he's still doing. Go ahead.
Yeah, this merging of these two might turn me around on Bryan Danielson. I was already because you know how I feel about him. I think he's mid in most things, bad on the mic, but this is more.
You would never say that about his bell to bell.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, he's a wonderful technical wrestler, I guess. But this whole heel thing that he's doing and like getting into it and feeding off of Mox and then playing off each other, I like this a lot. As long as he doesn't talk, I'm in.
Yeah, Bryan Danielson is the best wrestler in AEW. Okay, so
He's
moving
not.
on to the next.
Adam Page is.
We'll get there.
You
So
know I'm
the
lying.
the AHFO versus Sting, Darby, and Sammy. We both had Sting, Darby, and Sammy winning. This is the palate cleanser, by the way. So you have the big banger of John Moxley and Bryan Danielson. In the Attitude Era, you would have a match like John Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Neither one of them were in the Attitude Era. But my point is, you'd have a big match like that. Like you'd have like Jericho versus Shawn Michaels or something, or Kurt Angle versus some huge Undertaker.
Huge stars, superstars.
And then, but they're not the main event. And then you would have like a bra and panty match or something.
Yeah.
like you'd have
Like
some
Trish
like
Stratus
dumb
and Lita or
palate
something.
cleanser. Yeah, you'd have a palate cleanser before the main event because you don't want the WrestleMania 3 Macho Man and Steamboat to overshadow Hogan and Giant again, right? They learned and they have palate cleanser matches. That's what those were for. Or you have like a hardcore match, with like Mankind and someone else. Like they just have something like that. That's what this is. This is the AHFO versus Sting, Darby, and Sammy. This is a full-on 6-man match, no tag, just like
No rules.
anything goes. Beat the fuck out of each other. My question is, why is this on the pay-per-view and the triple threat between Andrade, Sammy, and Darby is not? I have no idea. Probably because they want Sting on the pay-per-view. I would have swapped those in a fucking heartbeat, but that's my opinion. But there is a big thing at the end of this, though, that I think is important to what happens in Dynamite, which we'll get to. And I think that's also another reason why it's important for this. But Darby Allin, before he comes out, there's a little vignette where his car flies into some trailers randomly. His vignettes crack me up. And Darby gets out and coffin drops off of the wreckage, some poor geek that's on the ground, like just some guy. He just coffin drops him, and then Sting, who's already in the ring, is on the video too, which I also thought was weird. And Sting and Darby scare off these random people in this, like, what is it, a junkyard? Like, I don't know what's going on.
The setting is
I like
odd.
his videos, but it's like they don't make sense half the time. They're weird.
I think he just likes
But
making movies because he like directs and produces them. Like that's his
yeah,
thing.
he was
I think
a
he
film
just
student,
likes
yeah.
doing it.
Or the people he works with. I don't know how that goes, but yeah, he makes stuff. So he does all his own vignettes. But yeah, they were paying respects to the AHFO because they're gonna kill him.
Hmm.
And so this was a wild match. The beginning, especially in the beginning, just from the start, Darby kills Isaiah
Kills him.
Cassidy by putting a trash can on him and then doing a suicide dive into him. How
awesome.
anybody could let him do it, because he has the most brutal suicide dives. Literally just cannonballs his body. He
He has
doesn't even look where he's
no
going.
regard for his body. Zero.
His
I'd say the
career's gonna
same about
last
Sting.
not long. And unlike Sting, who's like a billion years old and still looks awesome.
Jumping
And
through
so
fucking 3 tables.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Thanks for
Oh
getting ahead
my
of me. So
God. I can't
it's
help it.
it's
It's the only thing I cared about in this match.
it's no Jurassic Bucks Red Dragon match, but you know, it's a good palate cleanser. All right. JR mentions Jeff Hardy multiple times through this, as well as on Dynamite.
Hmm.
So at this point in my notes, I go definitely coming in, right? We may
So-
have news about that when we get there. Butcher and the Blade come in to interfere. Mark Quinn as well. Mark Quinn being the other half of Private Party, along with Isaiah Cassidy. And Sammy gets on top of the entrance tunnels. And he does a Spanish fly off the top of this shit onto some tables.
What a spot.
Fuck, man.
Holy
That hurts.
shit.
And it wasn't because of this, but if you look at the back of his leg, he fucked up his leg too. He has a massive bruise on it. I don't know how he got
I didn't
that.
notice that.
Massive bruise. It's brutal. It looks like broken bad. It was like made me feel bad for him. But the Butcher and the Blade set up like 4 tables, like 2 next to each other, and then stacked like 2 more or whatever. And for no reason, really. Like they just set it up and then they like just leave them and then they go over. And I'm a huge fan of the Butcher. He's been on my podcast, Medium Cool Movie Podcast. You can go listen to that episode. The Butcher, old Andy Williams, good dude. And anyways, so Andrade ends up on the. It was Andrade, right? That ends up there with Sting.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, Andrade somehow ends up on these tables. Okay, and they're right next to like an aisle, like a concourse or whatever,
An
like
entranceway to the
balcony thing.
scenes.
Entrance.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and so Sting is on top of the entrance where the people would be sitting, and Andrade is not there. Andrade is on the tables like away, and this is actually a very, very safe thing to do, but it looks really brutal. Because the thing a lot of people think is whenever you go through a table, it's worse. But tables actually break your fall, and they break easily. So as long as they break clean, you're good. Sometimes they can be a mess. In this case, Sting doesn't really jump off the balcony, but kind of just falls off. It looks great for a 62-year-old dude. Don't get me wrong,
Dude's
but I don't mean
timeless.
to make fun of him. But I mean, let's give him a break here. 62-year-old, yeah, I'm not jumping either, dude. Fucker just
Yeah.
falls on Andrade, drills him through these tables,
Yeah.
and then Darby does a coffin drop on Matt Hardy in the ring. Everyone else is disposed of. And yeah, this could lead to Andrade kicking Hardy out and taking the AHFO, leaving Matt Hardy for Jeff. That's what was in my notes. We'll see what happened on Dynamite.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole
Go ahead. Yeah, what'd you think?
That whole bit, man. The Spanish Fly, like that was a match of spots for me. I don't remember much about the match because it was the palate cleanser, right?
100%.
Kind of just washed over me. But the Spanish Fly was good. The finish was good. The coffin drop. But the Sting, we talk about it every week, every time he's on the show. The dude is timeless. He is timeless. He still has it. He's still doing most things that he did 30 years ago. Maybe a little bit slower, maybe a little bit more clunky. But the dude, man, 62 years old, and he's fucking banging with these kids. It's incredible. The fact that he did a fucking high risk, maneuver at 62, blew my fucking mind. I loved it.
Dude, he did, what was it, last, Double or Nothing or something? He jumped off the fucking chips or
I know,
whatever?
yeah,
This fucker's insane.
he just has cared for his
I don't know
body
how
in
he's
a
gonna make it
really
to 63.
if he's going down this road or trying to keep up with Darby, he might not. Because they are
Dude.
complete opposite. Darby has no regard for his body, and Sting took really good care of his body throughout his career. You know, from what I understand and what I've heard and read, everybody loved working with Sting because you knew you weren't getting hurt coming out of that match, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of rubbed off, and he's having a career at 62 where he's still wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, people thought he was crazy when he came back at, like, 61, I think is whenever he came back, or 60 or whatever, and people thought he was fucking crazy. Because it was also announced he would be in action.
Yeah.
It was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Now you watch him, it's like every fucking time he's in the ring, it's great. They
Well-
just give him 5 minutes of the match, basically, right? Like, you don't give him too much. Because the one time he did have too much, whenever he and Darby were in a match, and Darby was indisposed of from the beginning, and he had to run like 12 minutes, and the fucker was winded as hell.
Yeah.
Right? And he
Like,
didn't
62.
still looked good, but
Yeah.
62.
And you
More
compare
power
it to
to you,
other
brother.
guys who came back super old, like Ric Flair, did not look like this. when Ric Flair
No,
was
no, but
super
I will
fucking
say
old.
this though. If we're not counting his run in Impact or TNA, because after he retired out of WWE, he wrestled a couple times, I think, in Impact.
Yeah.
But his WWE like final match with Shawn Michaels is still one of my favorite retirement matches of all time. Have you seen that?
I
That shit's
have,
fucking
but
amazing.
I would have to watch it again. Like, I know I've seen it, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
He's so great. The
But-
classic, like he stands up and he has his fist up and he's like crying, and Shawn Michaels mouths, "I'm sorry, I love you," and then he kicks him in the fucking face. It's fucking
Man,
awesome.
I do remember that now
God.
because he's doing the thing or whatever. Yeah.
It's the fucking greatest. Anyways, anything else to say before we jump off of this palate
I
cleanser?
don't. No, I don't. It's just that.
I'm
Sting
afraid I'm
moment
gonna
is-
have too much to say about this next one.
I don't have a lot, so you could talk. Because you know
Yeah,
how I feel about Adam Page. So
Yeah, we're gonna fight about this.
Yep.
So, so the main event is the champion Hangman Adam Page versus Adam Cole. Both of us wanted Adam Cole to be champion because I think he would be a better champion than most people in AEW. But my prediction was Hangman Adam Page. Yours was Adam Cole. I think largely because you just wanted it on principle.
yeah, I was hoping to bring it into fruition. Will it
Yeah,
in?
but again, there was no chance. That's what you got. That's
So
what
lame.
Adam Cole had. And so, man, people really seem to want Cole here. Man, he was getting over even though he's the heel.
Came out dressed
know,
as a Spartan. What was that about?
yeah.
From Halo.
I don't know. That was weird. Yeah, oh, he's a big gamer. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
his
know
thing.
that,
Yeah.
but it's just
Um,
odd.
But what cracked me up though is there were just like crazy chants like "Let's go Adam,"
Yeah.
but they're both named Adam.
Yeah.
And then it got into this 50-50 where it's like, "Let's go Adam, Adam sucks," and it's like you don't like they're entertaining themselves at the beginning of this match because, quite frankly, the beginning of this match started off a little slow, not clunky. They did very well, but the crowd wasn't quite with them yet. Now they fucking were by the end. But it took him a little bit to like build up to that.
Which is fine. That's good storytelling in terms of the in-ring progression.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You give
Yeah.
all the exposition, you slowly rise the action, and then eventually we get.
No fucking complaints from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was into it. Just in terms of crowd reaction, it was funny because they're entertaining themselves clearly. And then Paige does a pop-up apron bomb, dude. A power bomb on the apron for Adam Cole at one point. Adam Cole runs over and just gets drilled. And Adam
Hit
Page,
hard.
of course, moonsaults as he does, and Cole super kicks him in fucking midair. What a fucking
That was
No.
the spot of that match. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
now I've seen Cole do this multiple times, okay, against other Ricochet and different people, but it never gets fucking old. And
It's
this might
so
look
fucking
the
cool.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He-
this might literally look the best that I've ever seen him do it because Adam Page hit that moonsault and he had to just say, "Legit kick me," because when you see it in slow motion, he kicks him in the fucking
Yeah, and
face.
his body
It's great.
moves like he's in the air. He
Yeah,
can't just contort his body. He gets kicked, and you literally see his body like change direction. It is
yeah,
fucking
it's
nuts.
awesome.
Yeah, it was
So then the
super
crowd
good.
starts chanting, "This is awesome," and then it eventually turns into, "This is Adam,"
Yeah.
for some reason, again, entertaining themselves. Red Dragon comes out and distracts.
Uh-oh. Live on air. I believe I've lost Austin. Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I think this looks fine now. Are
It's
we good?
it's about where it was. Yeah, we're good.
All right. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. So, anyways, I was talking about Red Dragon coming out to distract. Cole does a Panama Sunrise on Page on the outside, then a Panama Sunrise in the ring, and adds a boom for safe measure. But Page kicks out. Now, there's one thing that the story of Page has happened, despite how one feels about him, including Charlie. Um, One thing that we have seen with Page is that motherfucker is resilient. We've seen him in every match. We've seen him with Kenny Omega, with Bryan Danielson. We've seen him in Lance Archer. He is the guy that will not give up. He is built of cowboy shit, even though I also think that's a ridiculous thing, but it got over organically, so that's fine. But he kicks out. Page drops Cole with a dead eye through a table off the apron, which is wild.
Good spot.
The crowd's going crazy. Then a buckshot in the ring, a buckshot lariat, his finisher. But Cole touches the rope just barely to break the cover, and it was so great. Page does a some heel shit, in my opinion, though I think they're trying to just make it out as like a vengeful thing. But he ties up Cole and starts beating the shit out of him. That's not babyface behavior.
No, it is not.
Granted, I think Cole though, or Page though, a pure babyface is a character with flaws, and that's something that we'll talk about when we get into the rest of the week, which will go quicker than this. But and then Page basically retains with the buckshot lariat, and to the chagrin of Charlie.
This
Uh,
dude. He has 3 moves. His
oh my
lariats,
God, that's
punches,
not
and
true.
super kicks. That's all he does. He is the most
You are factually wrong.
boring.
You're factually wrong,
3
Charlie.
moves. That's all he ever does. Period.
Factually wrong.
I'm not.
I could show you right now. Factually, this guy. Let me tell you this.
Oh, and the
want to
moonsault.
be
I
clear.
forgot about the moonsault. Sorry.
Nope. I want
What
this
else
to be
does he
clear.
do?
I am not. I believe I want people to understand where I stand because I'm about to defend him real hard. But the thing with Adam Page is, I think there is multiple tiers, as we talked about with the women's division, the men's division as well. There are mid card guys and lower level guys who are usually on dark, and they're the guys that get squashed and all that. But you got the top guys. You got your Kenny Omegas, your Bryan Danielsons, your John Moxleys, all of
Adam
these
Cole's.
MJFs, like Adam Cole's, all these guys. Adam Page is right up there, but he's the bottom of those. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get it. I
I'm not
disagree.
asking for your opinion. I'm giving my opinion. So Page is at the bottom of that top tier. And the reason I say that is because one, he will always make he can wrestle with anyone. So you have the Kurt Angle thing where if he's wrestling a power move guy, he does power moves. Yes, Adam Page does power moves. He also does high fly shit. So if he's wrestling someone else, he can play
Moonsaults.
off with the high fly shit. That's not all he does,
That's
dude.
all he does.
Dude does all kinds of shit.
I wouldn't know. He's wrestled like
So-
twice since I've been watching, so hard to
Yeah.
tell.
Oh my God, that's so not true. But he hasn't done a lot with the title. I'll give you that. We can talk about his reign so far, which
Bad.
you and I do agree on. But I think
Lacking.
Adam Page is a really great worker. The thing that I don't like about Adam Page, because I actually think his promos got way better toward the end, right before he won the title, and then he got it. He's still not like the best, but I just think he got like way better. They still feel like he like prepared them a lot.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean?
They're
But
pre-written for him. He didn't write them.
but I still think he does fine. He does good. The crowd's behind him. He's super over. That doesn't
get
mean
it.
he's good to you, but I'm just saying like he's super over.
Yeah, no, for sure. Of course he is.
And but the thing is, I think he's a great worker. The problem is he's just not as good as any of the top guys he's wrestling. So it's difficult for me to cheer for him because I'm like, no, I'd rather have Cole. Like, let Cole win, or like, I want Bryan Danielson to win, or like, I wanted him to beat Kenny Omega, and he was my choice. But if he and Kenny wrestled again, I'd be like, yeah, let Kenny win. Like, I don't want him to be the champ for a super long time, but this was not the time to take it from him, in my opinion. Even though I wish Cole had it, like I wish this wasn't the rivalry yet, because I want Cole to take it from him,
Yeah.
and it seems like they're going to do more with him, but I still don't think Cole's going to take it from him, unfortunately,
Yeah, it's
because
just
they're building up for MJF
yeah.
and or not MJF, sorry, they're building up for CM Punk,
Right.
and unless CM Punk goes against Adam Cole, which would be fucking incredible,
That would be a
it
match.
would be better than Hangman versus CM Punk. But I'm here. I will defend Hangman all day. It's just only to a certain degree. I still don't think he's the best by any means. I'm fine with him being the champ as long as he's not the champ as long as literally any of the three people before him.
No.
All right. So if he makes it to the next pay-per-view, fine, but he needs to lose it. because you and I are the same way with this. And I don't blame Adam Page for his reign. He's being booked and he's not wrestling. And he's not even visible.
Yeah.
He's been on like 2 shows.
Yeah, or his opening shows, apparently, but we'll get there.
Well, yeah, we'll get there, and that's like a common thing for them. But yes,
Yeah,
I get what you mean.
I'm just
So,
being a
anyways,
dick about it.
anyways, he retains. Of course, again, you and I both agree. We wish Cole would have won, but it was no chance. That's what Adam Cole's got.
It's just one of those things, man. He just doesn't excite me. And maybe it's because since I've been watching, again, I'm maybe just coming up on a year of watching AEW regularly. And he just hasn't done anything. He's not excited. He's always, always, always elevated by his opponent in the ring. I have not seen a match yet where I'm impressed by him, right? He just, don't get me wrong, his buckshot lariat, when that fucking hits people, it hits people hard and it looks cool, right?
Yeah.
And the super kicks, again, they look like they hit hard, and he does them very well. That's why I make the joke, this is all he does, is because I think those are the best, like, those are the moments I remember from his matches. And it's just, he's barely been around. There's like a stretch where you didn't see him for weeks, and he's the world champion.
Yeah,
just
I
100%
fuck? Agree with you there.
So, like, I dog on him to, stoke the he's not good thing, but in reality, I don't know what he is because I've barely seen him wrestle. And I do think he is just really low mid on the mic. He sounds like he's reading or he's like rehearsing in his head. As somebody who's taught public speaking before, I see it all the time, right? You as well. Like, this is clearly rehearsed, but not done in a way that is seemingly comfortable to him. Except this last one that I think it was the Dynamite before, or maybe the Rampage before Revolution. Probably the best shoot or promo I've seen him do.
Are you talking about the Adam Cole ripoff where he does the whole ready for story time with Adam Page, baby?
Yeah,
and
I thought it was probably one of the better ones he's done.
I wasn't even that into that one that much.
I mean, I thought it seemed the most natural.
This is all going to be context for listeners real quick, and then we'll move on because we're talking too long.
This is going a long time.
Largely my fault. And thank you for sticking with us, or if you just came in, welcome to last week in wrestling. We're having a real smooth time, just like my Conquer blend from our friends at King's Coast Coffee. We are not sponsored by them, but we are affiliated, so you should definitely use that link and buy some coffee through them and give us a little kickback.
Yep. Helps so anyways, the stream, makes us do better things, I guess,
and
when
we
figure out what to spend money on.
Really, this is your fault. So just go buy coffee.
We're gonna keep talking until somebody buys King's Coast Coffee with our link. So you can end this whenever you want. You can end this.
Yeah. No, it's I don't even remember what I was saying. What were we just talking about?
Smooth transitions.
Fuck it. I'm just gonna go too long anyways. We'll just move on. So that was Rampage. It was a great pay-per-view.
Not Rampage.
Or sorry. This was Revolution, right?
I went 6-3 in my predictions, by the way. What did you end up at?
Oh Jesus. Counting? Are you not counting the buy-in?
No buy-in.
1, 2.
There's 9 matches in total.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How did I beat you? You had to beat me. I did not do very well. I guess counting the buy-in too, because if you add the buy-in and I lost 2 of the 3, but
Yeah.
maybe I did better. But anyways, yeah, it ended up pretty all right. And
Oh,
and
dog
the
collar
ones
match. I
that I
picked MJF because I wanted him to win, like
yeah,
despite knowing
that's
he
stupid.
wasn't
That's not
going
how
to.
predictions work.
Yeah, I know, but it was unofficial because it was on our personal Twitters or where
Yeah.
Instagrams and not.
And the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa thing should have been in our favor, so that's stupid.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we have this pay-per-view. A lot of shit happens. It gets really crazy. And then we have the follow-up Dynamite on March 9th, 2022. And it opens up with a Jericho promo. And this is following up the Jericho Eddie Kingston match. And I don't have much of it like written out or anything, so I'm not going to go through all the beats here. Maybe in the future I will, but basically, Jericho is in the ring by himself, and he's very babyface right now. You know, he's been a heel for the past few weeks, but he comes out and he's very babyface, and he's talking about how Kingston, you know, he didn't shake Kingston's hand, and you know how this match was one of the best in his career, and he really should be thanking Kingston, and he doesn't know what he was thinking. He was just kind of hurt, and he was shaken by this match. So he calls Kingston out, and Kingston comes out, and he cuts a promo on Jericho about respect and about the handshake not being for him but for Jericho, because Jericho's the one that needs this, and Kingston could live without it. Doesn't matter. He's already proved himself, and he's going on, and it's awesome. I mean, it's an awesome
So
promo
good.
where he's basically just like verbally beating down Jericho in a respectful way, like in a babyface way, but just kind of like, yo, dude, you got to get your shit together. Like, I never fucking win. I almost didn't show up, but I did because of the people that are waiting on me. He even calls back to the article that he wrote about his addictions and his mental health issues and how that saved some people's lives. Like, people have reached out to him and said that, like, you know, it really helped them, and like he's doing it for them. It's just the most just white meat baby face you can be in the most Eddie Kingston way.
Yeah.
And then it
It's
is, of
perfect.
course, yeah, it's interrupted by 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. And, you know, they run out and they start beating down everybody. And this is brilliant, by the way, because it looks like they hit Jericho. But if you watch it, they actually don't. They just kind of push him a little bit, but he sells the neck because he got dropped on his fucking noggin at Revolution. And even the commentary team are like, oh, Jericho got dropped on his head. Like his neck's hurt and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, this is top tier awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Just
really good.
everybody, commentary, everything. So they're beating the fuck out of Eddie Kingston. And Santana and Ortiz run out to help Kingston. They bring a bat, and 2.0 and everybody leaves, but I don't remember who it was, if it was Daniel Garcia or whoever, but someone's stuck in the ring, and they give the bat to Jericho to, you know, get some revenge. And Jericho starts to swing, and he turns around and he hits Santana and Ortiz. He starts beating the fuck out of Eddie Kingston. 2.0 and Daniel Garcia join Jericho as the crowd is baffled and I think probably excited about this thing. Jake Hager runs out, which I don't even know why he's in this promotion anymore. Like, I just don't get Jake Hager. But anyways, he comes
He's
out.
big.
He's a big boy.
6'6".
That's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say.
He's ripped.
Yeah, I mean, Andy's like a legit like shoot fighter, so it's like I get it, but
You should be
he
hanging out with
just has
Dan Lambert.
never, yeah, right, exactly. But
Literally.
anyways, Jake Hager comes out confused, and I was under the impression that he made the choice in the ring. Some people believe he came out, acted like he was surprised, but he already had made the choice. I was one that thought in the ring he looked confused, and then he decided I'll stick with Jericho, and they start beating the shit out of him. Uh, Hager tries to powerbomb Eddie Kingston from inside the ring to outside the ring, or
Man,
like on the apron or
yeah, he was on
whatever,
the
through a
apron.
table.
He could not
He
lift him.
barely gets him up.
If you
And
watch,
I don't
Eddie
know if
Kingston helps, and we're gonna talk about this more. Like Eddie Kingston grabs rope and like pushes himself up so he doesn't get dropped on his fucking head.
yeah, and
Yeah,
Jericho and
Jericho.
others help. Like
Everybody's like
everyone's helping
lifting.
him.
Eddie Kingston is not a
Which,
small man. Keep that in mind. And
yeah,
power
he's
bombing,
everyone's uncle. Yeah,
lifting. Jake Hager is 6'6", right? So the dynamics of a power bomb, right? He has to lift this 200, probably. I can't even guess. He's probably pushing 300 pounds. Man, up 6 feet in the air, up onto his shoulders. the feat of strength to even get him halfway up is fucking insane.
But it's
Granted,
on
they
the
help each
apron.
other.
Yeah, there's a balance issue. I think that I mean, he clearly has the strength to do it,
Yeah, he's a
but I think the balance. I mean, he's on the apron.
yeah.
Like I get it, but man, he could have hurt Eddie bad.
It could
And
have been
so,
bad.
but he
It could
he
have been.
puts him through the fucking table safely though,
He did.
and fucks him up.
He.
And
The,
then Jericho,
it looks so devastating.
yeah, yeah, real bad. Jericho is a proper heel now,
Oh yeah,
and he
100%.
sides with 2.0 Daniel Garcia and Jake Hager, and starts a new faction. Fuck the Inner Circle. I never liked the Inner Circle in the first place. Jericho Appreciation Society, which I think is fucking hilarious. And
Jazz.
his gimmick now is that he is a sports entertainer. And I am ready to be a Jericho fan. He has my attention. Let's see if he can hold it.
Yeah.
Jericho as a heel, if he'll be a serious heel and not a goofball fighting like Orange Cassidy and Mimosa matches, I'll probably be a fan of Jericho again. It has been a long time. What'd you think of this promo?
For me, this was the moment of the night. Eddie Kingston's whole thing, like you said, and I mentioned, it was just primo. The way it was delivered, it felt like legit. He actually, like, there's a moment, I have to watch it again, but it looks like he starts to get like teary-eyed at some point when he's talking about the addiction piece and how it kind of helped people. Like, he gets choked up and it seemed real. And put Eddie Kingston up there with MJF in terms of being interesting on the mic in different ways. And while I was watching it, there's clearly no way this was real. Kind of like when MJF did the babyface thing. There's no way Jericho was going back on this. But how it unfolded was so fucking cool. And the progression of it, it really just I was in 100% on it. I actually watched it twice when I actually ended up watching a replay, so I was able to go. And man, I really loved it. I do have a question though, because something occurred during that promo that I didn't understand. That probably is some sort of AEW history that I'm not aware of. But when Kingston is listing off all the big guys that he's lost to, he stops when he says CM Punk and laughs. What happened with him and CM Punk, and when?
Well,
I'm assuming it's before AEW.
No. This is the last pay-per-view. CM Punk and Eddie Kingston wrestled.
But why did he laugh?
They had
but why did he laugh?
Because Punk is the guy that was talking about him being a fucking joke in the same way that it's all a continuation of the story. So, he's like, even fucking Punk, because Punk is just like Jericho. Everyone underestimates him. He lost to Punk, though, but he finally got one over. He proves himself. I interpreted it as him just talking about fucking Punk. Everyone loves this guy back here, the guy that gave me shit. Look where I am now.
I see.
That's how I interpret it. I am happy for other people to have different. I think it is open to interpretation.
Sure.
He is one of those shoot talkers, right?
Yeah.
He sounds like he's a shoot talker, whereas MJF sounds like an old school heel.
Oh yeah,
and that's the two differences. Then they're both the top of their game.
Yeah.
Any promotion, they're the top of their game
for sure. But yeah, the despite the nearly botching and killing Eddie Kingston, I thought this opening was really strong opening to the night, and it sets the stage right for what the rest of Dynamite's going to look like. This whole night is just starting up these new stories and the new twists and turns of the, I guess, existing stories for some. Really great Dynamite overall. It opened in a really strong way.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. We'll talk about it as we go. You're right. But AEW has kind of had a history also of after a pay-per-view, they kind of do a cold stop on a lot of the, like, they don't even like reference almost like the feuds that have happened before. It's like gung ho,
really?
like let's go to the next one. I mean, they'll mention them, like they'll say like, yeah, last Sunday, like so and so fought. But it's just like, fuck that now. We're moving on to the next person. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how this is playing out. I'm curious. I hope, honestly, I would never have said this, but I actually hope that Jericho and Kingston continue this feud. I'm actually interested. Of course, we're gonna get a Jericho and 2.0 versus Santana Ortiz and Kingston, I'm sure, or something like that. But yeah, I'm excited about this. So the first match is a fucking match that was unannounced. So this wasn't like a match that even Like, if you're gonna do a title match, this was a heavyweight championship title match. 60-minute running time. It did not go that long, but that was the time limit. And they actually had another match on the card that was a standby match in case they didn't go the full 60, which of course they're not going to go because they're trying to kayfabe us here.
Yeah.
And it's Dante Martin, whom I love, versus Adam Page, the current champion.
Yeah.
Who Charlie does not love.
No.
So Page is obviously winning this. So what's the fucking angle, right? It's not promoted, so what's the fucking point? And there is a point where Dante Martin springboards off the ropes and into Hangman's arms, but he ends up tackling him instead of being caught. So on top of all of this other shit I'm talking about, like both I'm speaking now, but both of these guys are great workers. Dante, for his age, that's more of a relative statement. Like, he's still a little green in some ways, but my God, has he gotten better in like the last year? Holy shit! Like, he's getting an attitude now, and
Oh yeah.
like he's getting so much better. And he's like fucking 20 or something. Like, what the fuck? This guy's so good.
Yep.
But anyways, the good news is though, when they botched that spot though, they rolled around for a second and they like skillfully and intentionally tried to fix it. I appreciate that, even though it was a good save. It was obvious it was a botch.
Yeah.
Cowboy, to the chagrin of Charlie, Cowboy shit chance ring out. He is super over. That's just, I feel like, an undisputable thing.
Yep.
And in my notes I have, he is over despite your disinterest, Charlie. Dude, awesome Hangman Death Valley driver reversal
That
on
was
Dante.
fucking cool.
I got to give him credit. That was cool. Another Hangman reverse with power bomb. The final spot is like a billion reversals.
Yeah.
And then Page basically connects with the buckshot lariat and wins.
Man,
This
he
match I
sold
thought was
that
actually
buckshot so good too. Dante did.
yeah.
Man, it just makes
Yep.
Page look powerful in that move.
Yeah, for sure. And
that
he's
one.
a small enough guy that Page can be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I thought this was a pretty solid match, even though it's fucking pointless and I don't understand why it's here. But a good follow up, though, a promo by Page because he calls Dante back because no one says fuck all about Dante and they just start talking to Page.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this was planned or not, but he calls Dante back and basically says he's a great challenger. Like, keep your head up. If you ever get another opportunity, I'm happy to wrestle you. Like, you just kicked my ass and like you're awesome. Awesome that a dude that's over is putting another guy that is getting even more over. Love that. I appreciate that. Then Cole comes out and cuts a promo.
Yeah.
And it's basically one of those promos that's like, you may have beaten me, but you got lucky. You won't get lucky twice, and I will get what I want, and that's the AEW World Heavyweight Championship.
I will say, I don't have much to say about this except my only notes were, this is random. I wish Dante wins. The gymnastics were cool. Like the bouncing around that they were doing was really fun to watch. I'll give them that. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. I was really confused when they announced it. I was like, why is this happening? And why is it Dante Martin? Like, I didn't get it. It didn't make any sense. And then when Adam Cole came out, I was like, oh, okay, this gave Adam Cole a reason to come out and talk shit, I guess. But
yeah, but it's still
it
like,
could
didn't
have
just
happened
have
any other way. It could have happened
to
any
your
other way.
chagrin again. He could have just came out for a promo.
He could have,
which I recognize is not his strength over his wrestling, but
it's true.
Still, it's just like,
And
come on.
I think the problem is, and this was a problem, I think, in that moment. Adam Page is not good on the mic, I don't think. Or, I think he's lower than maybe he is, maybe because I don't like him very much. But when you put him on the mic against Adam Cole, right after that, Adam Cole just seems so much more natural. It makes Adam Page look worse.
The only thing I don't like about Adam Cole, because I think he's a great promo.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about him is, as a public speaker, you pick up on vocal fillers. You pick up on these little things a lot of people won't. And I obviously, as you've mentioned, teach public speaking. So it's funny because whenever he's talking, he's like, listen, Hangman, like, you beat me and you were lucky. I mean, and he does this like little thing before he talks that I can't unhear now.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? But I
Now you fucking said it. Now
adore.
I won't be able to fucking
Yeah,
unhear it.
I just
And now
wanted
you
to
just
ruin it for
ruined
everybody.
everything. You're a bad
I
person.
love I love Adam Cole. He's like my number 3 in the whole company. I just like love him so much. But he
Did,
challenges Page to a 6-man tag. Cole says that he has 2 young men, hinting, I would say, at the Young Bucks, that he would like to bring, and he would like to challenge Page and any 2 men of his choosing, which of course you would think is the Dark Order because of history.
yep,
Um, and it's going to be next week on Dynamite, which is coming up here in a couple days.
yep.
I think this is a completely absurd match, this championship match with Dante. After like 3 days after the pay-per-view, like what is the fucking point?
Yeah,
But you know
I
what?
get
Maybe
it.
they have something up their sleeve. It was a good match at least. I just don't understand why we took time to do this. But that's fine. Whatever.
I'm with you on that. I didn't get
After
the whole thing.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that 6-man tag match here in a minute.
Yep.
So the next match is Bryan Danielson and John Moxley with William Regal versus the Workhorsemen, which is a stupid name, but it's actually JD Drake and Anthony Henry from Ring of Honor. I love JD Drake. He's just like terribly underrated. He's a big boy,
Yep.
and he can actually do really awesome shit. But he's like a low mid-carder at best in the way that he's being pushed.
I mean,
And it bums
they were
me out.
clearly the jobbers here. So, I mean,
Oh, 100%. Dude, they're on Dark. That's all they ever
yeah,
do.
yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I thought the Wingman was a stupid place to put JD Drake. It just ruined him. Because I was watching Dark at the time, and JD Drake was on there, and he's squashing dudes.
He's
Like,
a
just killing
big
them.
dude. He
And he
kind
was
of
an
rumbles
awesome
around.
worker.
Yeah.
Awesome worker. He had some really, like, signature shit. And then he gets in with the Wingman, and it's like, he's ruined.
Yeah.
And I just feel sad for him because he's awesome. I think he's really cool. Anyways, so he gets in here. We all know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
If you thought they were going to win, you're an idiot. All right. This is to showcase this tag team that we've
Oh, yeah.
all wanted to see. This is a chance to give William Regal, an opportunity to show off his new team. So an absolute squash. Moxley is fighting JD Drake. I mean, not wrestling. He's fighting him,
Yep.
just mauling him. Danielson doing old school, chest kick spot like he used to do in WWE, which he doesn't do a lot anymore. But he did the classic, like, multiple kicks, then backs up, and then does a head spot. I'll just say I would not want to go against Mox and Danielson. I don't give a fuck if it's a work or not.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, these guys are brutal.
They have immediate tag synergy. Like I loved it watching those two work together. Super impressive. Immediately seemed like they're on the same page with each other. And just, I mean, Mox he's a good tag wrestler in general. From every other time he's been in tag matches. I don't know too much about Danielson's tag history, but this just seems to work, right? Just the pure brutality of Moxley and then the technical masterwork of Bryan Danielson together. Watching that in the ring and the way it plays out is so fucking cool. I love this tag team, and I don't even like Bryan Danielson all that much. But again, like I said earlier, working with Mox is kind of elevating Danielson for me in some ways. It was just super,
Which is hilarious.
super cool.
Because I'm not a huge Mox fan, even though I agree. I think he is a good worker in his own way, right?
Yeah.
And of course, he gets over.
He's like huge
um,
Sandman
and
vibes. He's just in there fighting. And like
yeah,
half his gimmick
yeah,
is
but I'm
basically the Sandman. I mean,
yeah, and you know what? I think he's gotten a lot better over the years because early on he would like fight these guys and everything. He would like sell for him so much that I couldn't buy it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And it was
he's
just,
kind of
I
a
don't know.
goofy seller in some ways. He's a little
He is a
goofy.
very goofy seller, but he's awesome whenever he's violent, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what they were showing here.
So
And so Danielson drops his psycho knee, which is his classic flying knee. Moxley drops Anthony Henry with the paradigm shift on the outside at the same time. Danielson, of course, drops JD Drake. Squash, Mox and Danielson win, and Regal is smiling approvingly. And then
so before we
Regal
move on
cuts
to
a.
the Regal promo,
Please.
and maybe I'm reading in too much to it, and I saw it wrong, but Henry botched Mox's kick to the outside, right? He was not there. It was a phantom kick when he kind of dove through the ropes and did like it was like an insecurity through the ropes or some shit like that. Mox dove to
I don't
the
think
outside.
I caught this.
There's a quick angle where you're watching like the cameraman on the mat with him, and Mox jumps through ropes to do the kick thing, but like they're feet apart. Like it does not look like it connects at all. And I don't know, it was either that or Mox just missed. I'm not sure who messed it up, but it was a
He's
really
trying
odd
to kick
moment.
him?
Yeah, he like does a dive kick through the ropes
Oh,
to the
oh, oh,
outside,
like a,
like a suicide dive,
uh
but feet first.
yeah, 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 like a drop kick thing.
Yeah, go back and
Interesting.
watch
I
that
don't
moment.
I don't
It was
I
wild.
will, yeah, because I don't remember that specific. I may have been, like, writing a note or
It
something, I
was
don't
like
know.
one of those things, you know how they in tag matches they'll switch back and forth really quick. You caught the tail end of it, and it just looked like it completely missed, but they sold it like it didn't.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Well, either way, Mox and Danielson slaughtered these
It was
2,
fucking good match.
jobbers.
Aside from that one moment, I was
Yeah,
into it the
it
whole
was
time.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, dude, Regal's post-match promo with Shivani. Shivani comes in the ring, Regal comes in. Regal went way over time. He ended up causing the entire show, like a lot of matches, to get cut. It was an accident. He's already apologized for it and things. I don't give a fuck. I've heard some journalists and people say that they felt like it went a little long. I could have listened to this for 2 fucking
I loved
hours.
it.
This guy's a fucking not only a great talker, but the sincerity and like when he's thanking Shivani for what he did and he actually starts crying, like shoot,
Yeah.
fucking so good. Um,
'Cause, I mean,
Regal
they
is
broke
one of
kayfabe
the
there in that moment, right? Like William Regal had some like severe, again, like addiction issues and drinking and things like that, and like the sincerity in it. Like everybody knew that outside the ring, but that was never his character, right? And
yeah,
the way that
but
it was addressed
but
was so good.
it's the same way Kingston does his promos. He just draws from his real life
Yeah,
and he's an open book and that plays into his character and
it
he's
was
just
straight
kind of
shoot
turned up a
the
bit.
entire time.
And Regal's the same way. I think Regal's one of the best promos in AEW.
Mhm.
Period. I mean, I'm throwing him up there with the guys we love.
Yep,
I mean, just
hands
like
down.
what? Who has a fucking better promo than what we just saw there? Equal, maybe, but I don't know about anybody better. That's fucking awesome.
It was so
If you
goddamn
don't
good.
watch anything, go to YouTube and watch this from Dynamite. I think this is a fucking great
Yeah.
promo. Basically, talking about how he met Bryan Danielson and how Bryan Danielson's the best pro wrestler. He very specifically says
Yeah.
that in the world, in his opinion. And then he looks at Mox and basically says, "You can kick the shit out of anybody because you're violent as fuck, and like that's what your specialty is." And anybody who wants to face this team, you better step up or you'll get stepped on, was his line. He also makes fun of Shivani's tailor work.
It did.
And he calls him sweetheart at one point, which made me laugh so much.
Yep.
I love Regal so much. So
Yeah, I love that man. I used to hate him as a kid in like WCW and stuff.
same.
I thought he was just a
Fucking
dick.
same.
Then once I like got older and started really appreciating wrestling in a different way, I've been a big fan of Regal for ever since I
Every
was an
wrestler
adult.
puts him over. Yeah,
He's
every wrestler
awesome.
puts him over. So then whenever I got the network, whenever we started hanging out originally, and I started watching these matches, I'm like, fuck, this dude is awesome.
So good. He's such a good
Anyways,
worker and a talented wrestler, pro wrestler.
yeah,
Make that
yeah,
distinction.
yeah. But yeah, dude, he'll stretch you.
Oh
So
yeah.
like the next match though, following that, which is it's funny because this is the standby match I hinted at earlier.
Well,
It's
you
a
missed the Wangman and Dark Order tension thing. When he goes and talks to Dark Order, that happened in between the Regal.
Oh, I
And
thought I had that on here, but you're right. Basically, as I hinted at before, you know, you would think that he would turn to the Dark Order because every time he has a tag match, he usually brings on John Silver, and I fucking forgot the dude's name right now. But anyways, you know, he'll bring Alex Reynolds. He'll bring those two, which I love that tag team. I think they're really great.
I love Johnny Silver. I love that dude.
Yeah, they're really
Johnny
fun.
Hungy.
Johnny Hungry
Mhm.
Meat Man. So, anyways, you assume that they're going to do that, and Wangman. If you don't know what we're talking about, just type in AEW Wangman. You'll see the graphic that they fucked up. It's awesome. But anyways, Wangman Adam Page is in the back, and he's apologizing to the Dark Order, basically, and just trying to make amends because part of his whole story since the beginning of AEW is that he is a character with flaws, despite either being a heel or a babyface. I mean, he's always been a babyface, but there have been times where he's had heelish behaviors because of his alcoholism and storyline and things like that. So, he feels like he's kind of fucked up and he's kind of pushed the Dark Order away a bit, and now he's trying to make amends. And they're like, "So, hey man, we're like, just pick two of us. Like, we're ready for you." And they're kind of assuming he's going to choose them, just like I would. Which I did. I immediately thought it was going to be them, but instead he talks about walking down the hall, and he saw Jurassic Express, and they wanted a shot, at Adam Cole and the bunch, either one of whoever he would pick, Red Dragon or Young Bucks. They want, to get back at them again. And it made the Dark Order a little sad, but they played it off, and they're still in Wangman's corner. And Adam Page kind of walks off. So it's Jurassic Express versus and Hangman Adam Page versus Adam Cole and his pick, which we'll get to shortly. Then we jump into the standby match. Again, another completely pointless match. Still a good match, but a pointless match.
I disagree with you, actually.
Wheeler Yuta versus Pac. Pac kicks Wheeler's ass from the get-go. He brainbusters Wheeler on the outside, which looked fucking brutal. There are Danhausen chants because Danhausen and a few of the best friends come out with Wheeler Yuta. And Danhausen, it cracked me up because he looks so confused and he just like puts his hands up like he's just like, "What the fuck are we doing here? I'm not even wrestling." And people are just like, I honestly don't think the crowd was behind this match, which is why it happened, which I wasn't fully behind it. I just thought it was a decent match. But it was basically, he does an avalanche brainbuster off the top rope.
Cool.
And then he does the brutalizer. Pac wins. He played the heel through and through in this match, which the Death Triangle has been a tweener group.
Yep.
Like sometimes they're, granted, luchas are pretty babyface right now, but they kind of go where they're needed. So in this case, Pac was kind of a heel. I thought it was a good match. It's just kind of, I literally put a like roll eyes emoji on there. Just like, the fuck is this match even in here for?
Yeah. So I guess, I don't disagree with you as much as I thought it would. It was a technically fine match, but like, it was random and I didn't get it. Kind of like the other one. It was like, all right, well, why is this happening? This could have been something on Dark. However, I was actually kind of disappointed in it as a match. Both of these guys are wildly athletic. And this match was kind of quick. It was not a lot of big moves like you're used to seeing from both these guys. There was a few, don't get me wrong, but like, when I see Pac, these big spots and these big elaborate moves and stuff. And Yuta, same thing. He's quick. He moves around. He flies around the fucking ring. And it just let me down. I was like, okay, I don't get why this is happening, but these two are fun to watch. It just felt slower and not as interesting as I was kind of expecting when they came out, I think.
But
for what it was fine.
I'm not claiming that you're this way, but I am going to out myself and how I used to be. When I got the WWE Network in 2015, I got it because my buddy Graham Brown, hopefully he'll come on here sometime, and he was like about to watch WrestleMania. I think it was like 31 or something, whatever it was that year. And he was driving up and he talked to me as he was driving home to watch that with his brother. And he's like, "Dude, you got to get the network. You got to watch Daniel Bryan." Which is Bryan Danielson now, of course. But he's like, you got to watch Daniel Bryan. He's the best in the world, And everyone was saying that at the time. And he was just like, so over. This is like the Yes movement and the whole deal. So I'm like, worst case, I get the free month. They were offering a free month at that time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just get the free month, watch a bunch of old cool wrestling, check out this Daniel Bryan guy, and be done. Little did I know I fell in love with Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, which we've talked about my CM Punk. I like him, but I'm not like an avid fan. I'm not crying whenever he comes back, though I did find his comeback very touching. However, they were all that was good in that era, those two guys like saved that era of WWE pretty much. So then I went back and I watched every starting at Royal Rumble 97 all the way to WrestleMania 2006. I watched every Raw and every pay-per-view from that time because I wanted to have I wanted to learn about like what happened during that Attitude Era because I was a WCW guy and then I just stopped watching. So like I lived through it, but I didn't watch it then. So then I got that whole experience. And then I just started watching every pay-per-view. I stopped watching the Raws because by 2006 they're terrible. So then I started watching only the pay-per-views, right? And I made it all. I'm pretty sure I got current. I can't remember. But anyway, so I was watching all of them. And what happened when I started watching those pay-per-views and when I was cherry picking the best matches because I would Google like best matches of all time. The problem is when you watch a weekly show, the matches are really underwhelming because you're so used to seeing the best by these people that when you watch a normal weekly match, it's kind of lame. And I actually had to retrain my brain that now if that was a pay-per-view match, that would be a tragedy because these guys are a billion times better than that, right? But they didn't do anything wrong. And so the problem with the match is I think it just has no purpose. That was my biggest issue with it. It's less that they did anything wrong. Of course, they're better than that. But I thought it was a pretty decent match. And the same thing with promos. Like that's something I had to work on because I was listening to so many shit promos when I was watching Raw that it was just like it turned into now I have to watch these promos and I'm looking for what makes the content. Right. So this is why I love Danielson and I like Adam Page, even though they're not the best at delivering them, but their storytelling and what they're doing with them is what I like. And so this is, I guess, more just context for me. But tying into this, though, um, this Wheeler Yuta and Pac thing, I just saw it as a weekly show match, and I was fine with it. It wasn't great, I agree,
Mm.
and it was a bit of a letdown, but mine was for different reasons. It was less that I thought they could do better. It was more, it's just like, what the fuck is the point?
Yeah.
Because if you went over and you had to cut matches, why didn't you just make this not exist?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It came
Anyways,
after the moment. Just don't have this 10 minutes of
just don't have this match.
okayness.
Put it on elevation. Like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yep.
Anyways, so after that match, we cut to an Adam Cole promo with Red Dragon and the Bucks. Red Dragon and the Bucks are seemingly relatively civil, though they clearly have some beef still. And the Bucks still look so annoyed, which is great with their stupid fucking goatees. And the Bucks, they're still mad at each other from Sunday's pay-per-view, but Cole is picking a team and he talks about the best part when he was cutting the promo on Page is when he's like, "They're my friends, not yours," you know, and he's talking about young men and all this thing. You know, it's the Young Bucks. So he's like, "Yeah, and I'm gonna pick." And eventually, Matt Jackson from the Young Bucks interrupts him. He goes, "Hey, man, if you want us to wrestle with you against Page, we're not gonna wrestle him. So I'm sorry." And he's like, "I wasn't gonna pick you anyways. I was gonna pick Red Dragon." And I actually think he was gonna pick the Bucks, but then he changed in that moment. That's how I interpret that. Some people think of it differently, but I felt like he was going to.
Yeah. I had that same vibe. I was like, okay, this is fun. Like
And yeah, so
a match I
yeah,
don't really
the
care about. But
Cole gets real mad and stomps off like a child in a great way.
yep.
And then Red Dragon follows. They're kind of like talking shit. And then the best part, this cracked me up. Cutler behind the camera goes, "Oh, Matt and Nick, I'd choose you to be my partners." And Matt
Shut up.
goes, "Oh, shut up, Brandon." And then in the distance, you hear Kyle O'Reilly go, "I heard that, Brandy." And I just like fucking Brandon Cutler's the greatest. He was such a geek. He was a D&D. Did you see his D&D era where he came out with the dragon head and he would throw like
I knew about it, but
ice sets
I
on the
didn't watch
ground
it.
and
Yeah.
shit instead of thumbtacks? Like, what a
Yeah.
geek. And then but dude, he's the greatest geek now. Just like who's a better geek than this guy?
Right.
Fucking the greatest. So anyways, FTR's backstage. What the fuck is this segment?
I
Holy shit.
This really took me off guard. I was super
I
like
think this is fucking stupid. And I'll tell you in a second why.
didn't get it, and I don't like it. It's I don't I see. I'm confounded by it. I honestly don't know what the hell is going on here with this.
Well, let's tell the people what's going on here. Dax gives a promo. Dax from FTR. It's Dax, Cash, and Totally Blanchard. All right, those three. They're all in the Pinnacle as well, as you can see on Charlie's hat. And so they're six members of the Pinnacle. Totally Blanchard's one of them. I just need that to be clear. And it's still going. Just Wardlow's not in the Pinnacle now, or so we think. So Dax gives a promo about how his family is everything to him, and the reason why he fights now is his family. How he wants to fight Red Dragon and the Young Bucks, for his family. And Tully Blanchard interrupts him, and he's like, "Hey, you hired me to win championships. This is about championships." And they go back and forth for a second. Eventually, Cash interrupts him and says, "Hey, Tully, you're not family, and this is about family, so you're fired." The fuck? And then that's it. No,
Yeah.
that's like legit just the end. And it just cuts. This is a terrible segment because if this is going to happen, this should definitely have been built in some way. Are FTR turning babyface? I hope not, because I think they're an incredible heel tag team. But if they want to, I get that we have a lot of heel tag teams right now. We might need some more baby faces soon, especially when a heel team beats Jurassic Express for it. We're going to need a few baby faces. I get it, but dude, what the fuck?
I didn't get it
I
at
was
all.
really
Him.
disappointed. It's not that it's a bad segment in terms to watch, but it's like, the fuck happened?
Yeah, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense in general to me. Like it just came out of nowhere. And thinking about what you said earlier, how they kind of AEW just stops after a pay-per-view. It seems like one of those moments. It's like, oh, time to completely change what's going on here and move in a different direction.
Yeah.
It was odd. I
Very odd.
didn't get it, and my only comment, like in my notes, I just wrote what the Austin what.
Yeah, dude.
I didn't get it.
I'm looking at my notes too, and it's funny because we have a ton of talking segments
Yeah, there's a lot
right now, back to back.
Yep.
But anyways, and I love it because in AEW they have a lot of good talkers. Not everyone, but I mean, there's a lot of good ones. But that FTR thing was stupid.
Yeah,
I just don't You're gonna drop a horseman at the drop of a hat? Like what? You have praised Tully Blanchard to the hills. I mean, just talking about how he's the greatest and the greatest, and you love him so much, and you fought with him. And I mean, this dude is he's helped you win tight. I mean, they were the tag champs for a while. They deserved a better run, but still. And like you just fire him.
so
There's
weird.
there's nothing. It's fucking stupid.
So weird.
So then the next segment that was a video segment. This is a segment in the ring where
the
the
emergency board meeting.
yeah,
in the ring.
AHFO emergency board meeting in the ring. Yeah, it's Andrade, Matt Hardy, Private Party, Blade, and Butcher. Which the Butcher, my homie here, which you can hear my interview with him on Medium Cool Movie Podcast. It's way back though. It's like episode 9 or something. But anyways, and I'm at like 73, so like, you have to go like way back. But anyways, he's awesome. And dude, he looks fucking cool now. Okay, with this fucking beard instead of just having like the big
eating
mustache.
chicken on the way out, like to the
And
ring.
so I have the notes because he literally just points chicken at the ring like he's talking shit. Fucking funny, dude.
I thought.
So anyways,
just
Matt Hardy,
typical white trash kind of thing going on in that, and with the chicken, I was like, what in the fuck? Like
so
trailer
sad
park
that
type
Every Time I
deal.
Die broke up, but now he can be on AEW. So
Mm.
Matt Hardy apologizes in the ring for fucking up and basically losing the match and just kind of being an asshole. And this is a pure baby face. Dude, there's no transition. This is straight baby face. He apologizes for not being a good partner. Basically, he says that, when I wear a suit, I'm kind of an asshole, and basically looks at Andrade and says, well, you know something about that because he's wearing a suit, and he called him an asshole, basically. And he's like, but I'm not here to fight. It's like, then why'd you say it?
Yeah.
Anyways, but Matt Hardy's dressed a bit more like an older Matt Hardy, not older in age, but I mean like a pastime. And he's feels real baby face here. Andrade wants to take a vote on whether they should kick Hardy out because he's basically been a failure and he is no benefit to Andrade anymore. So they take a vote, and Andrade votes no. We need to kick him out. And Hardy votes yes for himself. And then Private Party both vote yes at first. And then Andrade's assistant votes no. And then eventually Andrade says something along the lines of, always remember to watch your back. And he turns around the Private Party and they turn their thumbs to the no. And there's a major beatdown. And I think we all know what's coming at this point, right?
This whole promo was just tailored for this to happen.
But you know what, though? But it doesn't happen yet. And I like this little swerve here because Darby and Sting run out first.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, full transparency, Jeff Hardy's coming out now, but he doesn't. And I thought this was clever. Sting and Darby come out first. They get into the brawl, but it's still 5-on-1.
Yep.
So they get their asses kicked. And then old school Hardy Boys music kicks on. And Jeff fucking Hardy comes out looking like a fucking geek. And he clears house. We got to go over to the AEW roster. And I'm going to try not to laugh through this. And look at Jeff Hardy's picture on there, and then imagine that just being how he smiles, because it's the lamest picture I've ever seen. I actually am excited that he's here, and I don't really think Matt Hardy has much of anything I want to see anymore. But maybe with Jeff, they'll have a good time. It's going to be a nostalgia piece, and that's fine.
I had pretty much the same vibe on it. Like, the swerve to Sting and Darby was cool. I thought the same too, but like right from the rip, right? Like in hindsight, this is obviously where Jeff Hardy is, right? Obviously where it happens.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see this development between, the kindled Hardy Boys and whatever is going on with Darby and Sting. I think it's really fascinating.
They had a bit of a stare down.
They did, and it plays out more on Rampage, which we'll get to quickly, hopefully. Um,
Yeah.
and generally, it was cool. I enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah, that's all I got on it. Like, it was like, okay. I also had it spoiled for me ahead of time because my brother's an asshole, so I kind of knew. But
Yeah. Fuck
eh,
you, brother.
yeah, it was a good debut for Jeff, I believe.
People fucking popped, dude. And so what are you gonna do?
Senton Bomb, baby.
Um,
Everybody loved it.
yeah,
The Swanton
it
Bomb.
was yeah, he looks better than Matt. So
Yeah.
Matt looks like he's taken one too many falls off of ladders. I'm just saying, he's stiff.
Chat
And not in the traditional way.
chat is pointing out Evil Daisy wife. That Darby the look that Darby had when Jeff came out, right? He looked super shocked and kind of was like, "What in the fuck?" Which is apparently caught her attention. I noticed it too, for
Yeah.
sure. I don't know if it's admiration or what, something.
We're
Guess
about
we'll
to
see.
find out
Yeah, I guess
in
so.
future episodes. After that, we have another segment, Swerve segment, which
Whose house?
he comes out and said he's going to debut on Friday on Rampage, and that Who's House thing gets over, man.
Hey, people
He
love it.
knows how to win him over, man. He's good. And he's going to be wrestling Tony Nese. Tony Nese is better than he's being pushed, but he has not impressed me on AEW thus far, unfortunately.
Bad on the mic too.
But not great. He's a little
Scripted.
he's a little clunky.
Yeah.
And as I've said, I'm okay with people who are not incredible at the delivery as long as they're doing good work in
Mhm.
terms of content, and even his work's not great. So he's got a little room, but he has a great look, and he's not bad in the
Dude is
ring. So
jacked. Like,
fucking
holy
ripped.
Christ.
But Swerve is cool as fuck, as you mentioned
Suave
before.
motherfucker
And he
for sure.
said, I was wondering who was going to immediately interrupt me because everyone gets interrupted backstage,
Yep.
which I think should change eventually. I would love to see just legit promos every once in a while, but everyone gets fucking interrupted. It kind of is getting annoying to me. I'm not quite to annoyance yet, but it's getting there.
I think the only
Anyways, that's
time
it
it
though.
doesn't is when, right before the main event on Rampage, when Mark Henry has a chance to like facilitate, which is always done virtually. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. They always do get interrupted.
Enough
It is fucking
talk.
annoying. Yeah. It's time for the main
I'm
event.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna say that when we get there. Then there's a Wardlow segment. I am gonna let you know I fucking love this segment. And listen, he's another guy that feels a bit scripted. He's never been a great talker, but he's not a bad talker. I thought this was actually a fucking good promo.
Dude.
And Tony Schiavone brings out Wardlow. Wardlow starts getting chants like Goldberg, Wardlow, Wardlow, and it sounds like Goldberg chants. This is babyface Wardlow all over, which is surprisingly interesting. I actually didn't think I would like this ahead of time, but I actually am sold. I'm interested in seeing him as a babyface.
Oh yeah.
He gives a pretty decent promo. I actually really liked it. Again, content was great. They could have gotten away with this by MJF being an asshole and giving all the same information. So MJF, giving him shit and saying, like, what are you gonna do? Leave and lose all this money? What's gonna happen to mommy back home?
I'm glad they
What's
didn't.
gonna, and well, I think that would have been perfectly fine. But now that I've seen this, I'm glad they didn't. Is
So
all I'm getting at. Because had you told me they're gonna let him try to sell himself, I'd be like, "Ooh, let MJF do it."
yeah, yeah.
But this actually worked out. He's clearly practiced it a lot. Like I
Oh yeah.
said, there's a point where he, I think, got a little nervous and he kind of had to catch up with his brain.
Mm-hmm.
But he did very, very well. Like, super kudos to Wardlow. He contextualized himself as a true character, so he developed his character.
Yep.
He was poor growing up. His mom was just a gold-hearted angel, and he wanted to help her. So Max was his way of doing that, even though he knew he was a shitbag. And Wardlow is finally free. He disowns MJF in the Pinnacle. Wardlow tells MJF he needs to get smart and let him out of his contract so he can focus on winning the TNT Championship. And, I don't know what that note is. But anyways, to get the TNT Championship. And then Wardlow declares All Elite Wrestling is Wardlow's World, which is the next video game by AEW.
Yeah.
And,
A little
yeah, the
cheesy.
crowd was super into this segment.
And they should have been.
Really, really, yeah. So my question to you, I just want to take a second on this because I think this is very, very interesting, and this I think deserves just a little bit of time. I know we're like a billion years over time,
Super.
but
It's gonna be a
like, what?
two-parter.
Who fucking cares? Like, deal with it. But what's gonna happen now? You know what I mean? Because I'll tell you what I hope, and then I want to hear what you think. I hope Wardlow. There are two ways this can go, and when we get into predictions, I'll give you my final what I want to happen at least. I hope Wardlow wins the title. I'm not saying this is my prediction, but just hear me out. I hope he wins the title because the crowd is hyped as fuck, and MJF is going to come out and he's going to contractually force Wardlow to give him the title, even if he has to bring in the authorities to do so, okay? Because he's a shitbag. And then that just progresses the thing of can Wardlow get the title back from MJF. That's a great setup. It does everything. It fuels that feud and really gets us moving there. But well, you know what? I'm going to stop there because when we get to predictions, I'll talk a bit about Scorpio Sky. But just talking about Wardlow, though, how do you feel about the segment and where's it go now?
Yeah, so the culmination and the full turn to full babyface for Wardlow was really fucking good. Between what
Yeah,
happened at
dude.
Revolution with the ring, and then coming to the ring and cutting this promo, he can't go anywhere. Like he's so over, and he's pulling this babyface gimmick, which is basically, yeah, I'm a good guy, but I'm going to beat the shit out of you, which is really good. And I think it works for him based on his size and the way he wrestles. Like he can be over and he can be the babyface in this situation. He's still scary.
He wanted to be Brock Lesnar so bad. I don't think you've been watching it since, but his original finisher was the F10, where he would actually just no joke, no joke. Go watch it because he would do an F5, but he would spin full rotation
It's
first.
funny.
So he would basically just like
Just
whatever
launch
you
him.
call that. Yeah, he would just spin and then just launch him as far as he could. It's an F5, but he calls it an F10. And that's all he was.
Funny.
He was a squash guy. He would
Yeah.
just beat the fuck out of people, F10 him and beat him. And then he was trying out a few different finishers, but I'm glad he ended on the power bomb.
The
I don't know
symphony.
if he did the power bomb symphony on Dark before this, but when they came to Indianapolis last time and I was at that show, that was the first time I ever heard people go one more time.
Mm.
And then he just started doing it. He definitely didn't do it on TV, I don't think, but I like to think Indianapolis started that, but probably not though. Probably not. It's probably on Dark or something. But the point is, dude, I'm into the Powerbomb Symphony since I was a kid. Powerbombs have been one of my favorite moves. I just
Oh
think
yeah,
they're awesome.
they're awesome.
He's fucking cool.
And I will say, I agree with you. He was much better on the mic doing this sort of promo than I ever expected him to be. As soon as he was coming out to the ring to cut a promo, I was like, oh boy. I was it's just like this is gonna be tough. But like you said, obviously rehearsed. But because I think my expectations were low for him, I was like, this is better than I expected. This is pretty okay. And I'm here for it. I'm a big Wardlow fan. I think he's cool. I think his character is cool. I think he's fun to watch. Yeah, his presence in the ring is super strong. I'm excited to see where it goes. I agree with you 100% on what you said about where this is going to go with MJF. That contract stipulation is going to be that turning moment, right, where the conflict. That's going to be end of Act 2 if we want to stick with a storytelling thing, right?
Because we still don't know how MJF's going to respond to his promo and his disowning.
It's really good.
That's going to be on
But
Wednesday, I
that
think.
contract stipulation is not going to go away. Not going to go away.
MJF is not smart.
And I think, man, I know what I want to happen. I want Wardlow to get the belt eventually and be that guy for a while.
He would be a real. He needs that title. So we always talk about people who do and don't. MJF doesn't fucking need it. He could be a millionaire and never win a title. Okay,
Yep.
but like, yeah, dude, he's
If he gets that title and he
Wardlow
has a
needs
good
that title.
reign, that's what's going to put him to the point where he no longer needs it, right? That's going to
Yes,
be
100%.
that moment where, Kevin Nash gets away from Shawn Michaels and can be his own person, right?
Yeah, I mean, Britt Baker wasn't super over, and then she got the title, and now she doesn't need it anymore.
And I think he
You know what I mean?
deserves
And
it
so,
too. I like Wardlow a lot. He's a good worker. He's fun. His mic skills, again, better than expected.
yeah, I've only seen him talk like once, I think, or something. There
Yeah.
was like Pinnacle segments, maybe even before you got back in, but he had Pinnacle segments, and There was one where they were gonna do a 5-on-5 or something, like all the Pinnacle versus all of whoever,
And this is like a
and,
5 minute thing too. Like that's not easy to come out and just do, especially if you don't have a
well,
lot of time on the mic, and you're generally probably subpar on the mic. But again, clearly scripted. Sounded like him talking though. I was impressed. I was
yeah,
impressed.
and, I'm using this as an example, but, Brock Lesnar's not bad on the mic either if he has his moments,
He's a
but,
good interview.
but Paul Heyman is a billion times better, and part of me hopes that Wardlow will get a Paul Heyman type, someone who can talk for him, but he can still do his own talking. Does that make sense? I think if he has sparing promos, he will have fewer chances to fuck up. Do you get what I'm
I
saying?
do, and know what we're gonna do? We're gonna bring that up on TikTok when, which everybody can follow us on TikTok at Last Week in Wrestling, where we will discuss that.
All right. Sounds great. All right. I'm going to move on. Keith Lee and QT Marshall segment. This is a Keith Lee squash, basically. Uh, Keith asks, well, this isn't the match yet. Sorry. That happens later. But anyways, it's a talking segment. Sorry. And Keith Lee is being interviewed and, of course, interrupted again by QT Marshall, who basically says, hey, we both have some shit with Team Taz right now. I just want you to know the factory has your back. And Keith basically says, I have a pretty large back. I don't really need you. And he walks away. And then you get this very kind of classic, like, I'm going to get
Yeah,
you,
man, you
by
see?
QT. And it sets up a match for Rampage, which we'll get to later. And not much to even talk about when we get there.
Nope.
It's just Keith Lee. He's the greatest, glory and all that. So, Jurassic Park. Oh my fucking god! It's
Fuck
your
you.
fucking fault. It's your fucking fault. This idiot says Jurassic Park all the time. Jurassic Express with Christian Cage versus the Acclaimed.
Mhm.
The Ass Boys, aka the Gun Club, are in the front row watching for some reason. Clearly, they're going to come into this at some point. But you know what? This match wasn't bad. I actually like the Acclaimed. I'm actually a fan. I used to think the raps were embarrassing, and now I
I
think they're
love
really
them.
fun.
I fucking love the
Um,
raps.
yeah, they're fun. And I think he's in on their ridiculous, of
Oh
course.
yeah,
So it's
they both
you know
are. Like their whole
it,
gimmick is just who are the guys from WWE? It's like the same thing, with the bootios or whatever the fuck. Big E was a part of them who broke his neck. Who Godspeed.
yeah, yeah.
The
This is
hell were
so
they called?
embarrassing. This is so chat. If we had people actually watching, this
we're,
this would be
we're
embarrassing.
gonna get lit up by
Um,
somebody somewhere on
oh,
the
it's
internet.
so bad. Why? Like I don't know, dude. I still can't think of it.
I can see
Like
all
what
of
the
them.
fuck?
Big E's a Hall of
Hold on,
Famer. Why don't we know this?
hold on. I gotta look it up because this is something that we should know.
The New
And
Day. A New Day.
thank
The New Day.
Jesus
Christ. The
Christ.
Acclaimed is basically that, but better. I shouldn't say that. The New Day is really good.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Mm,
about that, but
I
I
was,
get what you mean.
yeah, it's sort
Um,
of the same kind of goofy type deal.
Because yeah, I think yeah, the New Day's great,
Yeah, I just
but yeah,
was
I get what
hating
you
on
mean. Though. I get what you
WWE for
mean.
the sake of it.
Uh, yeah, fuck WWE though.
Yeah,
So
particularly Vince.
hot take, hot take. So Jurassic Express versus the Acclaimed. Crowd chants Luchasaurus a whole bunch. He got over, dude, and his hot tags. I mean, he's built for hot tags.
Yeah,
That's it. Jungle Boy takes a beating. Luchasaurus lays him out. Jungle Boy beats their ass over.
yeah,
In
yeah.
this case, Max Caster tries to hit Jungle Boy with his chain, while Owens distracts the ref. But Christian Cage pulls him off the ring apron, or he pulls him out of the ring. And Luchasaurus just clobbers him, dude,
Yeah.
outside. Max Caster's out. Ended in a Doomsday Device, the old Road Warriors move. Jurassic Express retained. There's not much to talk about in this match, but it was a fun match.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. A good weekly match, right?
Yep.
Nothing to cry home about or whatever.
Yep, it was good. I mean, there's a couple times I actually thought like, oh, Jurassic Express might lose this. From a watching perspective, from like a storyline perspective, obviously that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, it was a good match. Had good ups and downs. I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, they're good. Jade Cargill has a video segment. She continues the open challenge. They're looking for number 30.
Yep.
Who is she gonna beat?
Who's left?
Narratively, I like what they're doing with Jade. As I've said, I think she keeps getting better. I think she needs to keep getting better. Yeah, I'm on the Jade train. Again, not the greatest yet, but I think she has everything she needs to be great. She has wrestled 29 matches in her entire life.
Yep.
Most people wrestle hundreds before they ever make it to a pro. So she has a lot of ways to go, but for where she is, I've seen much, much worse in AEW,
Yep.
let alone elsewhere. So,
Oh yeah.
speaking of
Worse.
a weird match and possibly worse, legit Layla Rose or Rose what? Legit Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa, AEW Women's Championship elimination match. Hirsch needs to sell her own moves more because when she does moves to people, sometimes she just acts like she didn't do a move to people. And I would love for her to kind of follow through with that performance a bit. I think that goes back to a bit of the greenness with Hirsch. But I still stand by she's gotten better. It's just that, and I know that you don't like her, but I actually really like what she has to offer. She's just not good enough at it yet. And I just want to see her get better at it because I like her suplexes. I like the move, the not move list, but
Her
whatever, like
moveset.
her arsenal moves.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. I like her moveset. I actually think she's cool. Not great on the mic either, but like, don't let her talk. Just let her beat the fuck out of people. I like her being this little fucking Rey Mysterio short ass motherfucker and beating ass. Like, I would love to see her beat like a Nyla Rose sometime just because she's a better worker, right? But right now she's not. So I would love to see that. Not there yet. Some of what Hirsch was doing doesn't really make sense, though. For example, she puts Thunder Rosa in a tree of woe at the turnbuckle, and then like hurts her arm.
It didn't make sense. And
This is the kind of thing I'm talking about.
I can't imagine anybody wants to work with Layla Hirsch. Can't imagine. Between the botches and the lack of selling on her part and her opponent's part, she's just not good at it. I can't imagine anybody actually wants to work with her.
It's funny because I've seen her look pretty good on Dark, but it seems like when she actually gets on TV proper, I don't know if it's nerves or what, but
I
don't know.
don't
So,
get
anyways, my biggest beef with this match, because basically it ends with Layla tries to get the turnbuckle rod again and hit Thunder Rosa, but she doesn't pull that off. Red Velvet comes out and stops her. Of course, this is going to start a feud, I'm sure, which I'm looking so forward to. And then Thunder Rosa wins basically with her finisher. And then that's whenever it is announced that a steel cage match is going to take place on Dynamite in San Antonio between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. Why the fuck this did not happen at the fucking pay-per-view, I don't know. But whatever, if we got to get the hometown win, do what you got to do. Thunder is winning.
Yeah.
There's just no fucking way that that's not going to happen. And if it doesn't, I will be more pissed. And it's not that I don't want Britt to win. Yeah. I want Britt to be champ. She's awesome. But it's like, it's time. Story-wise, it is time.
Well, even just think about the match, too, right? It's literally happening this way to keep Rebel and Hater out. I mean, everything is set up here for, because Britt always wins because of them. And not having them in the corner, obviously Thunder Rosa is going to win. Obviously, it's time for her to win.
But you know what I think she should do, though? I think Rebel and Jamie Hayter should get in somehow, and Thunder Rosa still can beat her. Against all odds, she still beat her 1, 2, 3 back to the mat, beats her. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying I would love to see that, because then she doesn't just beat her because there's a cage.
What
she actually can
kind of
beat her no matter what.
Cage does AEW use? I've never seen a cage match here. Is it like the Hell in Cell style, or is it like the old school?
They've had both.
Oh, really?
They've had both. They've had Hell in a Cell and they've had old school. You can see Cody Rhodes wrestling, I think, Wardlow in the first ever cage match, and has no top, and he does a backflip. It's like the fucking tallest cage I've ever seen. Like, he was like super high.
So if it's not Hell in a Cell, the Hater and Rebel could theoretically just climb on in.
That's what I mean. I don't know what kind of cage they're trying to do.
Thunder Rosa can go to the top and fucking come down on top of them. But I guess if she gets out, if they're using old school rules, yeah, never mind. That wouldn't work.
This might be a pin situation. I don't know what their rules are for that. But anyways, the long story short,
this should happen at Revolution.
I am actually excited about this match, though.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing them wrestle again. I think it'd be better than the pay-per-view match even.
I think so.
And it's going to piss me off even more that the pay-per-view match existed, because this should be the thing that happened. Main event is Sammy Guevara versus Scorpio Sky. Going into this match, I guarantee you and I thought Sammy's going to get out of this one.
Did.
Well, let me tell you about this, guys. Are tables considered weapons? Clearly not, because Sammy straight up just sets one up, and Dan Lambert and Ethan Page are outside on Scorpio Sky's side, freaking out and telling the ref to do their job because he's basically getting a weapon out. I don't understand how that works either, because tables just aren't weapons in AEW, which is interesting, because I don't think you can do that. I mean, you can do an announcer table because it's just set up,
It just
but if you
happens to be
pulled
there.
a table out, a ref would disqualify you in
For an
WWE,
Yeah,
right?
for an object, for sure. I think even TNA and NWA, you can't do any of that. Like, you look at
So
the
whatever they're
categorically.
doing, I mean, cool spots, of course, and if we're going rule of cool, then I
Yeah.
guess that's fine.
Yeah.
But anyways, Sammy sets up Scorpio Sky. It's the best spot on the whole show, I think. Sammy sets up Scorpio Sky on the table. I was watching this on the fucking plane, too. I'm watching on my laptop. I have it on there, and I see him set him up, and I'm like, holy shit, is he gonna do a spin, or is he gonna do a shooting star on this guy? And this fucker does a 630 senton, and as soon as he jumps, that damn bastard Scorpio Sky jumps off that table.
Gone.
This fucker, Sammy Guevara, jumps off the top rope and lands through a table on the outside of the ring.
He is another
I
one with no
gasped.
regard for his body.
I gasped so loud that Amanda thought I was hurt, and I had to rewind it and make her watch it.
Like,
and she just goes,
yeah.
you know,
I thought,
like she just like couldn't watch it.
what is it? The famous line from JR in the Hell in a Cell match, he's broken in half. It's like, I've never seen anything like that. I've seen a lot of shit in a mainstream. I've never seen anything.
Yeah.
Like in my notes, I called it the 630 to nowhere.
Yeah,
like,
dude, it's
holy
brutal.
shit. And you hear the thud even through the table when he hits the mat is just rough. And
then it goes
rough.
to commercial, and he sells the entire commercial. Ty Conte comes out because they're actually dating in real life, which has to be confusing for a lot of people because they just saw him get engaged like 6 months ago or something.
Yeah.
And then now Ty Conte. Yeah, because they have an open relationship, like it's known online, but if you don't follow that shit, it would be confusing. But anyways, she comes out to help him, and he thinks he broke a rib and he can't go on anymore. Of course, coincidentally, when the commercial ends, he says, "No, fuck it, I'm getting back in," and he goes back to the ring and fights it out. I really, really wish Sammy had sold his ribs more when he was actually wrestling after that, because he kind of does a lot of shit where I'm like, you'd be dead. But it's fine. Still a really fun match. What's funny is whenever he does the 630 senton, he's on the outside. Fucking Scorpio goes in and tells the ref to count. What are you trying to win?
Oh, yeah.
You can't win on a count. I'm just like, the fuck are you doing? So anyways, and I also love that Dan Lambert and Ethan Page are just like, give him the belt. He deserves the belt. Like, Sammy's out. Just really great.
Dan Lambert
faction. They're just great, yeah. And so, anyways, everyone tells him not to, but Sammy gets back in. They fight. Scorpio has such a good look, I think. I think he looks like a champion, even if he doesn't feel like a champion to me. Do you get what I mean by that?
I do. Yeah, 100%.
He just looks. He has a great look. I think his moveset's great. I mean, he's
not
good.
Not be champion very long, so it's okay.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about. Yeah, I that's what I want to talk about, because basically, Sammy is fucked because of this 630 thing. Ty Conte's out there. Ty Conte stops them from cheating, like Dan Lambert and all them. And who comes out but Paige Van Zant, the UFC fighter, I believe. She's Team America, as I'm going to call them. I know it's American Top Team with Dan Lambert. And she signs, like, she's an actual, like, roster member now.
Yeah.
She lays out Ty eventually, so there's going to be a feud with Ty Conte and Paige Van Zant. I'm looking forward to it for Ty Conte. I don't know about Paige Van Zant. I don't know what that's going to look like.
She's not a good UFC fighter, so she's not going to be a good wrestler, I imagine.
Yeah, she might not be. Now, what's Jorge? No, not Marsvidal. Who's the other dude? That was, doesn't matter. One of the top team guys, I thought actually did really well. Whenever they had the American Top Team fights, not all of them looked great because they're not great at pulling their punches because they're used to punching people.
Actually punching people in the face.
But one of the dudes, I forget his name now, but I thought he looked pretty good.
Well, I thought Paige had that same problem when she kicked Ty Conte. Like that looked like she actually kicked her in the face.
It looked brutal, yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, I'm way more into this Ty Conti. Like I said, she's not the, like, big bubbly, like, waving, all the smiles all the time. She's a little over the top still. I think she'll even out with
Yep.
more experience, but I'm looking forward to her. Again, I think she has a lot of potential, like many of the people, but she's not quite there. But Scorpio, uh, basically drops his finisher when all of this is distracting Sammy. Drops his finisher, dude, and pins him. 1, 2, 3. We have a new TNT champion. We're going to get back into this with predictions, which we will not take long on at all because I have
We
not
need
much to
to
say about them.
keep it moving.
Yeah.
We are taking for fucking
Um,
ever.
yeah. Well, this is the first show. We're going to even out eventually.
I blame you mainly.
Um, well, I mean, I am the one talking most of the time. So, AEW Rampage, we're going to jump to that because that was the end. It ends with the new TNT champion and AEW Rampage on March 11th, 2022. We have a few segments here. We'll kind of beeline through these. Darby Allin versus Mark Quinn. Mark kicks Darby's ass most of the time,
It was
which is
good.
kind of weird. It was
I
a good
actually
match,
like
but
this
I was
match a
just
lot.
surprised that he gave that much to him, I guess.
Yeah.
But Darby is really good whenever he's kind of coming. He's the underdog, like
Yeah.
whenever you beat him up. But monstrous superplex by Darby Allin on Quinn. That was like scary good. Um, Quinn, Quinn, wait, down a backflip, stomp, knee drop.
Yeah, so he did 3 like backflip knee drop, 3 different backflip moves, one of which being a knee
Yeah,
drop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had. Oh yeah, he did the backflip, but he landed on his knees on it. It was
Yeah.
like a weird step, but it looked ouchy.
It did. It didn't look good.
But Quinn tried to do a backflip DDT. I think
It was a flat,
maybe
it
a
was supposed to be a
flatliner.
flatliner.
Well, that's what he called it, but it looked like it was supposed to be a DDT to me.
Yeah.
But whatever it was sloppy.
Oh,
It
yeah.
didn't work. That was the only part that it really stood out to me, though. Darby's bumps look so brutal all the time.
Every time.
Like,
It doesn't matter
the
what he's
fuck?
doing. There
Quinn
was
pushes him off the top rope, and he hits the top rope whenever he falls off, and it looks so violent. I thought he died. Like,
he does
dude,
bounce around
he
a bit
hits
when he does
so
that.
hard. He just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And then Quinn does a 450 splash from the top rope to the fucking
outside.
outside. So we see the 630 through a table with Sammy on Wednesday. And then Friday, we see Quinn do a 450 splash on the outside, and he looks relatively fine.
Yeah.
It's wild. Anyways, Quinn tries a shooting star press to finish Darby, but Darby moves and submits Quinn with the Fujiwara armbar. And AHFO comes out. The butcher is just eating chicken. This is whenever he's eating chicken. He just like points at Darby as they're walking out. I love Andy Williams so much. And who comes out to save them yet again but the Hardy Bros.
Yep.
And they come out before the AHFO can actually do anything. Like before they even get started on the beatdown, the Hardy brothers are out.
Beeline around the ring and leave.
Yep. And nothing happens there, but the story continues. I'm curious to see how this plays out because are the Hardy Boys feuding with the AHFO still, like Private Party? Are they going to go for Darby and Sting? What's happening? We will see. They're still setting that up.
I think that was a good moment to see, like, the contrast between Jeff and Matt. Like, Matt needs to drop a few pounds. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, but he is not looking really good in his old wrestling getup.
Honestly, I miss Broken Matt Hardy, but he does not fit in AEW because whenever he first came in, he did the Broken gimmick,
right?
And it's something that Tony Khan has been very outward about regretting, which is why he changed. Yeah, because he like teleported and shit, dude. It was bad WWE level shit. It was dumb.
But the other thing I wanted to mention about the Mark Quinn match, is when Mark Quinn had Darby in the abdominal stretch and he was doing the classic, like using the rope as fucking leverage. Yeah. Loved it. Just a throwback to like old school wrestling. You don't see that shit anymore, really, like that.
Well, I always like whenever it always makes a ref smart when they fucking see that shit. So like when Bryce Rimsberg sees it and he kicks his foot.
Yeah, yep, I love it.
He kicks his hand or whatever.
It just felt old school. It was really cool.
Yeah. Felt like a Kurt Angle match to me because Kurt Angle always used to get caught on that shit.
You know, whipping his head around like a fucking maniac.
So Dan Lambert cuts a promo giving Wardlow shit, basically saying you'll never beat my dude. And then Scorpio Sky's like, fuck you, you'll never win this. And that's it. It's not really Much going for it. And then we have a House of Black vignette, which these are so weird, and I love House of Black so much.
Yeah, this one was
Man, some of these
interesting.
promos are strange.
Yeah, I don't get
Um,
what's going on with them. Like,
I have no notes for it. I don't even know how to talk about it. They're just these kind of weird, creepy vignettes, and they each kind of talk like they exchange lines. Basically,
yeah,
it's
I don't
interesting. You should just
get it.
check it out.
I'm not sure where it's
I'm
going
curious to see
either.
where it goes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know where it's going, but I like it because I like House Black. But
Yeah.
it's just interesting.
So we get more with the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker thing via Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes is, of course, Thunder Rosa's friend now. Hayter is Britt Baker's bodyguard, basically. And they had a whatever match, actually. I didn't think it was great. I didn't hate it either. It was just kind of I would consider this a weekly palate cleanser. Like, all right, cool. Like, let's get to the next thing.
I think it's
Britt Baker
upper
interfered, of
echelon
course.
of women's division.
When you look at it in that specific area, yeah. But Hayter got the win because of Britt Baker interfering. Afterwards, of course, Thunder Rosa comes out and is ready to kick some ass, and that's just setting up their match for 2 days from now.
Hmm.
Hikaru Shida has a vignette, talks basically about getting revenge on Serena Deeb for hurting her knee and putting her out of action. Pretty decent promo. I've never thought Shida was great, but again, content. She did fine. And part of it's like a language barrier. You know what I mean? Like sometimes just the way that she delivers is not always the most impactful, but it's, I think, partially cultural and partially just it being a second language.
Hmm.
Then we have Keith Lee versus QT Marshall, which I hinted at earlier and called it a squash. And it is. It's
Mhm.
a squash for Keith Lee because why? QT Marshall sells for people and puts
Oh
them
yeah,
over.
he made Keith Lee
And he
look
does
like a
it in a big
goddamn
way here.
superhero in this match.
He's huge.
Yeah.
And of course, Keith Lee wins. I just put my first note as like Keith Lee wins.
Yeah.
And dude, he sells for QT a bit,
That's,
but largely he looks like a monster. There's a point where QT gets in his face, and I think he like chops him or something, and then Keith Lee just double chops him,
yeah.
and QT hold his chest and just fall flat back.
It's so good.
It's really great stuff. Post match beatdown attempt by the Factory, but Lee beats their asses too. This caused Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs to go down to the ring for the commentary booth. Powerhouse ends up beating Lee.
Dude,
He does a big what
Spine
the fuck's
Buster.
the move? Thank you, Jesus fuck. We've been doing this too long. So, anyways, he gives him a big spine buster, dude, and it looked good, man.
It was.
It looked
He looked like he had no problem lifting up Keith Lee and just slamming him
not
down,
fucking
and
at
that
all.
needed to happen. Otherwise, it's just gonna look like Keith Lee squashes fucking everybody all the time. And Powerhouse Hobbs and Keith Lee is clearly going to be something in some
It'd be
way.
great.
And that
I'm
spine, I
interested.
think that spine buster has to be answered in some way because he fucking drilled him through the mat. It was fucking cool.
It was
And I'm a
awesome.
big Powerhouse Hobbs guy. I love that guy. And I love Keith Lee, so I'm super pumped to see where this goes.
It'd be great. Yeah, I think it'd be great. Last match, the main event is Swerve Strickland's debut on AEW with Tony Nese. They have a history in past promotions, so they are going to put an end to it here.
Oh, yeah.
The intro segment with Mark Henry is great because Swerve looks so cool, so suave.
Yep.
He's just like cool. Tony Nese looks like a geek, and
He is a
and
geek.
Swerve basically does the Who's House, and Swerve's house. And Mark Henry says, "That's enough talk. It's time for the main event." And then we break to a preview,
Yeah.
which I don't know why this happens, but maybe they just need to get to the area to walk out or to the tunnel. But anyways, it's a preview where Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa will have a cage match on Wednesday. This is, of course, one of their specials this coming week.
St. Patrick's Day
Right.
Slam.
St. Patrick's Day Slam. Bryan Danielson and John Moxley versus Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta. Don't know why, but that'd be fun regardless because that's a lot of talent. Hangman and Jurassic Express versus Adam Cole and Red Dragon. Again, another banger of a match, I'm sure. And then Scorpio Sky versus Wardlow for the TNT Championship, which we will talk about our predictions for those 4 matches here soon. And then finally, the crowd is heartily behind Swerve, and duh. But it starts pretty slow. The crowd's a little quiet, and it's a little sloppy at first. But they found their groove, man, and they won the crowd over, and they got a "This is awesome" chant. And there's a point where Tony Nese tries to smart Swerve. This is the spot I was talking about earlier. And he runs, and Swerve follows him, and he pulls the top rope to like the stupid move that no one would ever fall for in real life, where they just like somehow toss over the top rope. Swerve fucking flips over it, hands on the apron, lands on the outside of the ring on his feet, and just walks away from him, cool as fuck.
Yep, it was
And that
fucking
was the moment
awesome.
where I'm like, dude, Swerve's cool.
Yeah, he is super cool. He is just that all the time too. Like even the way he moves in the match, right? When they were doing like the exchanges right in the beginning, he kind of like sweeps out Nice's feet. Just the way he does that just looks cool, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Pretty
just
smooth.
wild.
Yeah, he's pretty smooth, like my Conquer blend coffee from our friends at King's Coast Coffee. Uh, I didn't even mean to do that. That was just natural. Anyway, Swerve wins with the top rope double foot stomp. And that's the end of Rampage. We did a lot of shit here. My apologies for being so long. We had a lot of content to cover. We'll definitely be able to get through these a lot
It's
quicker. But
also the first time we've done this. We didn't practice. We don't rehearse. We do everything fucking live. This is just a straight shoot in some ways.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out.
Charlie, take it away, man.
Yeah, so we're going to breeze through this quickly in the interest of everybody's time. But what we will be doing after we go and do our recaps every week is picking out our favorite moments of the week and predictions for the upcoming week of the matches that we have available to us. This week, there is only 4. We obviously don't know what's going on with Rampage. But we'll go right to predictions, and then we'll talk about what we think our highlights of the week were that we want to cover. So, make sure it's all properly. Oh, there's you. There's us. We got screens and everything. This is high action here, folks.
Not with you running the show. No, I'm kidding, dude. You're doing great.
You're rude.
All right.
Very toxic.
So, I want to talk about this briefly. And our briefly is usually long, but I'm going to try to keep it brief because it's this first one. Singles match, TNT Championship. My graphic looks great. Wardlow versus Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky just won the TNT title. There are 2 ways this match could go. And I know someone's like, duh, either this person wins or this person wins. But I mean, there has to be a reason. Now, never in the history of AEW has anyone won a title and lost it immediately afterwards. With the exception, I guess you could say, of Cody with the TNT, but that was a whole complete clusterfuck, that whole thing. My fear is that they're going to try to keep the title on Scorpio by allowing MJF to actually sabotage Wardlow's opportunity, not letting him even win it, because Wardlow thinks he's outsmarting him in some way, and if he's not going to give him the title, he doesn't deserve it. You know, if he plays that card, I could see MJF interfering in some way and Scorpio Sky retaining. However, the reason that I am predicting what I am predicting, and we'll get there, is Wardlow, I think, needs to win. And the reason is for 2 reasons. 1, Scorpio Sky would be a transitional champion. I get that. But Scorpio Sky can also he can eat that. Like, it's not going to hurt him. He's a mid-carder right now, unfortunately. So it's like he can take that, and he was the first AEW tag team champion. He has enough accolades. He'll keep working with Dan Lambert. He'll move on, okay? So he can lose 1 week after he gets it. This also saves the Wardlow-Sammy match for another time when they can build it into something different. So, yeah, let Scorpio Sky lose. But also, then Wardlow wins. He gets the title. MJF demands the title. He is forced to give it, whether the authorities show up or what. Something happens where he's forced to give it, and then is the underdog getting what he rightfully earned. That is the best story. It also sets up that someone... Because, dude, remember whenever I keep going like, no chance. That's what you got. Because, like there was no way Cole was going to beat Page at the pay-per-view. He just won at the last pay-per-view. They're not going to let him lose. The way that you make me question that is by doing shit like this. You let Scorpio Sky lose. Because in UFC, these are shoot fights. Yep. Someone could be the champ and the next fight lose it because it's a real fight. And if we want people to believe that this is possible, we have to have DQs on occasion. Not overusing it, but you need DQs. You need people to run to the time limit draw. You need people to lose championships right after they win them. These are things that need to happen. Not a lot.
Just
Once,
enough.
maybe twice a year, maybe, but just enough to make it where we go, "Oh, that's possible, actually."
We've seen
Yeah.
it before. Yeah. This is in the
So that's
repertoire.
my argument. That's the most I have to say about any of these. I just wanted to get that out.
Well, I agree with you fully in that latter part. I predict Warlow is going to win because of Scorpio Sky. There's no reason for him to have this title right now. Could he be at this level eventually? He's the transitional champion to get Wardlow to MJF to that feud. I'm not quite sure why Sammy had to drop it, but that's neither here nor there. But I believe we have both landed on Wardlow right here. And
Yep.
I'm pretty confident we're both going to be right here. Um,
Fucking hope, dude.
dude,
It's the only way to go.
it'll be really odd if they don't. So we have the singles cage match for the women's championship, Thunder Rosa and the defending champion Britt DMD Baker. I was reading chat as part of doing this live. Sammy and Tay are going to AAA March 26th. I don't know what that means. What is AAA?
Oh my god. Triple is a fucking Mexican wrestling promotion, you geek.
Oh,
Like only the biggest one. God, it's where the Luchas wrestle and Andrade wrestled in Mexico and Kenny had the title for
I
a
guess I didn't
while.
realize it was called AAA. Like I'm okay. Either way,
Fucking-
that's I don't know. That's why they had him drop it. Maybe it is because they wanted to get to this match. Either way, we have Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. We've covered this at nauseum. We
So
both
much.
believe that
I love
Thunder
Britt Baker,
Rosa.
but fuck her in this situation.
Yeah,
There's
Thunder
no way
Rosa is going to
come
take
out
it here. If you didn't glean that from our previous discussion throughout this episode, we are pretty firm here.
I love Britt Baker, but it's her time to lose it.
She doesn't need it, and Thunder Rosa's story has to continue with that belt.
And I love Kenny Omega's title run, and I think Britt Baker's is just as good.
I agree.
Like I'm just ready for her. Like now, it's like when Paige beat Omega, it needed to happen. Same thing here. Like
I
it
want
just
to
feels
see her do something else. I want her to do something else now. Very good.
Yeah.
And then we have two more matches. The trios match: Bobby Fish, or Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly with Adam Cole versus Adam Page, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Jurassic Express. What are you thinking here?
Oh, I don't even remember who I picked. Who did I pick? I
Oh,
think I
God.
picked Adam Cole. I think I picked Red Dragon and Adam Cole.
We both
Yeah.
picked Red Dragon and Adam Cole here.
I forgot.
I
Well,
don't really
he
have,
needs. Listen, I have a reason. If you're gonna say you don't have a reason, because I'll tell you.
other than I want. No, I don't know why this is. So you can convince me, and maybe I'll have some justification for why I think this.
Adam Page beat Adam Cole. Why the fuck should he even pay attention to Cole? Other than Cole's threatening to like be mean to him all the time until he gives him a chance. Cole has to win this.
So
Just for the sake of saying that, like just for putting him back in the running. And honestly, I don't care if there's like a double team or a cheat. I would actually love to see Cole pin Page, but I don't think they're going to do that. But just to put him back on the level, because he just lost. He's back at the bottom, right? But if he's
Right.
going to get this rematch, he has to prove himself in some way. I think he has
like
to
Thunder
win this.
Rosa
That's my
didn't
argument.
have to do. That makes sense.
Fuck that.
I'm curious, like what this could do for Jurassic Express and Red Dragon feud, though. Too. I would
Yeah,
love to see it.
yeah.
Love to see it. I'm actually
Yeah,
more
that's
interested
good.
in that than Cole and Page. Seeing what the tags do, and then finally, this one it's the tag match with Mox and Danielson with Lord Steven Regal in their corner, and they're up against Wheeler Yuta and Chuck Taylor. I think.
If anybody, go ahead. Sorry. You
Yeah,
go
yeah. I
first.
think this is just a strange match. I think it'll be fun. Lots of talent in there, but I don't know why it's happening. I think it's going to be a squash in a lot of ways. Maybe Taylor and Yuta will get some cool spots off, but Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley are clearly going to win this.
You're an idiot if you think otherwise. Here's the thing. This is why it's happening. Every time you have a new talent that they're trying to get over big time because your stats matter, they have to give them wins. So you're going to have a lot of Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson matches from here on out where they're winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. And the story's going to be, can they coexist? Right? Are they going to be able to stick with Regal? What's the story? That's the story, is those two, not the people they're fighting. So they're gonna fight a bunch of jobbers and a bunch of and Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta aren't jobbers, but I mean, and they're gonna fight like mid-tier guys
They
like
will be
that,
right
right?
here,
They're
though.
gonna well, yeah, yeah, and honestly, I hope they squash them, and I like those guys, and unfortunately, I don't think they will, but they should. But that's why they're doing it, because we're gonna get a lot of non-story matches, but the story will be between those two, and then once they get up high enough, they're gonna go for the tag titles. And quite frankly, I hope they take them off Jurassic Express.
It'd be really cool. Be really
Yeah.
cool, but I'd also like to see Red Dragon go up against Danielson and Moxley. I'd be happy with any of those tag teams that we both love going up against Moxley and Danielson.
Here's the problem: if Red Dragon beats Jurassic Express at the next pay-per-view, say, um, then there's no way Bryan Danielson and Moxley are going to beat Red Dragon because again, they have not proven, they being AEW, that
Sense.
they do transitional shit.
Right, right,
So if
right,
they do
right.
this thing with Scorpio, I may eat my words and I may say, okay, maybe it's possible, but we'll see if Wardlow pulls it off, man.
Well, I guess we'll figure that out and talk about it next Monday. But that's it.
Yep.
That are the predictions.
Is it?
We
Yeah.
will
Is it
codify
next
those.
Monday yet? Because we've talked for fucking ever.
Yeah, no shit, huh? And we have one more segment to do.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
I
We're
don't
gonna
even
again
know what
do
it is.
the of the week stuff.
Oh
at
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
side.
That's right.
Very good. And you'll be able to find our predictions officially codified on Instagram, LWIW Pod, Instagram, pretty much across the board. If you look down in Twitch here, you'll see all of our links to our socials. There's different sorts of content on them throughout the week. Be sure to check them out. So,
Yep. And if you're watching this on YouTube and stuff, it'll be in our descriptions
that's
as
right,
well, I'm
YouTube.
sure. If you go to any of our personal things, like if you go to @AustinGlidden on Instagram, I have a link tree that has all of our stuff on it as well. So yeah, dude, definitely keep in touch.
For sure. So, our of the week segment, the things that we liked, we have 3 that we got to go through: the botch of the week, the match of the week, and the spot of the week is the ones we have decided upon. And
Yeah.
I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about them. I pretty much laid these out here, and we're going to figure out what they are and which one takes the cake. For botch of the week, we will start. There's 2 contenders. First being...
Both are women's matches.
No, they're not.
Okay, good.
So,
good.
man,
I thought you were
that'd
going
be
that
fucked
way.
up. That'd be fucked up. Botch of the week nominee number 1. And this arguably not entirely a botch, but I'm rolling with it anyway. It was what I nominated. Well, I nominated all these. Hager needing the obvious help to lift Eddie
That's what
up.
I was thinking, actually.
I mean, that's a good one, right? So that's number 1. That's one option. And botch of the week nominee number 2, letting Layla Hirsch wrestle. That's a botch on AEW.
That's mean. That's mean.
I hate her.
I'm obviously going with the power bomb.
Yeah.
If I get a choice. I was thinking that because the other actual botches are somewhat to be expected. I did not expect Hager to have a problem power bombing him.
Yep.
So it actually stood out to me a bit more because the other one I was gonna say was Hangman versus Dante Martin, where he collapses, like he gets hit and they try to save it. And I thought it was a good save. It's just still a save.
Which is why I didn't include it. I tried picking out the obvious ones. I really don't like Layla Hirsch. I was generally joking. I agree. I think botch of the week is Hager thinking he's stronger than he is, which is still very fucking strong.
I still think it's a balance issue, but
I think so too.
Regardless.
But
super funny.
Somebody's got to take the dive here, and it's
yeah.
I mean, Eddie had to help himself up in his own bump.
It kind of looks like he fights him off, but it's him helping too. You know what I mean?
You see him like push on the rope.
Pretty good, yeah.
It's hilarious. So we both agree that the botch of the week was Hager needing that help
I'll go
from
with you
Eddie.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with you there.
And I almost put in the phantom kick from Moxley but you didn't see it, so we wouldn't have been anywhere. So great. So from botch of the week, we'll go to the spot of the week, the most exciting thing that we saw, the most exciting moment of the week. For
just
each
a
of us.
moment, okay.
Yep.
I already have it in my head.
So I have five potential ones that I'm kind of wrestling with. I think I know where I'm going to land after kind of digesting this a little bit more. But first one, that Hager powerbombing Eddie, the botch and the spot all at the same time. He came down like 20 feet. Like Hager is 6 feet 6 inches tall, standing on
Either
the
way,
mat.
it's over 10 feet.
Yeah, it's
It
a
doesn't
lot.
matter.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of feet.
My second choice, these are no particular order. The 630 splash to nowhere. That was clearly a spot that was planned to happen, and man, did it look fucking devastating. I thought
And he hit it perfectly. There's no botch at all there.
None.
That was perfectly
That went
executed.
exactly how he wanted it to go. I thought it was amazing. This one I'm pretty medium cool on. Is the Jeff Hardy debut.
Medium Cool Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go ahead.
The Jeff Hardy debut. I mean, a lot of people were hyped for it. It was cool. Jeff Hardy, yes. So that one obviously has to be there. Another one for me is that Mark Quinn 450 splash to the outside. That was fucking wild.
You've already named the two that come to mind. So yeah.
And then finally, QT in the factory making Keith Lee look like a Superman. That whole match, Keith Lee looks unstoppable. He looks amazing. He's tossing QT Marshall around, who is not a small human in his own right. It was just a fun thing to watch Keith Lee just destroy QT Marshall and be put over in the coolest way possible. That whole match, I didn't think it was match of the week nominee worthy, but I think as thinking about it as a spot in Dynamite, I would put it there. And it's not even the match. It's specifically, I'm talking about QT selling. Or is what are the ones I'm wrestling with. I think I know where I land, but I'm curious where you are.
I'm 100% without a doubt 630 through the table.
Same. So we're in agreement.
That's one of the best spots I've seen ever on AEW. Here's the thing, man. It sucks. It's like people watching football and they love to see things get really aggressive, and when people get hurt, it's kind of exciting, right? Because they want people to push themselves so far that they do cool shit, or it's boring otherwise. But then people get hurt more because they're pushing themselves so far. And it's kind of like that with wrestling. I feel kind of like a sadist because it's like, I want to see that shit because it's like, fuck, man, it looks so awesome.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate so much that these people are giving so much to entertain me. That means a lot to me, sincerely.
Literally putting their body on the line. That's the classic trope, right? In wrestling, they're putting their body on the line. Literally, people wrestlers like Sammy and Darby are doing that every single show. And it's how are they not injured all the time? I don't get.
I honestly don't know. And this is the only time I've ever wanted to quote Vince McMahon whenever he was talking to Mick Foley after the Hell in the Cell match in '98. Whenever he wrestled Undertaker, was thrown off the top. The JR moment, you said he's broken in half.
Yeah.
And whenever he went back, Mick Foley saw the first person he saw at gorilla position was Vince McMahon, and Vince said, "I want you to know I appreciate everything that you just did for our company, but don't you ever do that again." And I just want to look at Sammy and just say, I really appreciate what you just put yourself through. I do kind of want to see it again, but don't ever do it.
Just do cool shit that isn't going to get you fucking killed, bud. What are we doing here?
Man, yeah.
Wild.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But no, I agree. I think the Sammy 630 splash to nowhere, it has to be. It has to be.
Has to be.
I think they were all, the ones I mentioned, all worthy of it, but holy fuck. That was the moment that stopped me this week where I was just literally taken aback, for sure. I
exclaimed in an airplane. So
wild. And then finally, last but not least of our 3 categories of the week is the match of the week. I have 4 listed that I think, I have 2 listed that I think deserve it. I listed 4, so there's options. You may have some different ones. And I'll start at the bottom and work up. Swerve versus Nice, whatever his name is. I think Swerve is really interesting. I thought he was a fun watch. I think he's suave as a motherfucker, and as I said multiple times and will continue to. There were some cool spots. It was a fun match on Rampage, for sure. I enjoyed it. The Mercedes Martinez versus Jamie Hayter match I would put up there, only because I thought it was a very good women's division match. Mercedes, I think she's a really great wrestler. She's been in the game a long time. Jamie looked better than I've seen her in a long time. There's still some flubs and a little bit of clunkiness, but generally it was a good match. Yeah, so that was another one I have. I'm thinking about. Then Mark Quinn and Darby. There's some big things happening in that one. You know, typical Darby stuff. Mark Quinn surprising me in a lot of ways. I haven't really seen him too much, but some of the stuff he was at least attempting to do, despite being a little sloppy, I thought it was a fun match and enjoyed it. And then finally, Scorpio versus Sammy. I think there's much left to say about that one. I kind of know where I'm leaning here. And I assume you're probably leaning the same way.
Well, I thought we were so my pick was originally gonna hold on, hear me out. Was gonna be MJF versus CM Punk because I was counting Revolution too.
No, I literally say in the notes that we're not counting Revolution, the notes that you
But
don't
you
look
already
at.
know this that I don't read. Yeah.
I know.
So just like hold on. Um I mean I'm inclined to say the Sammy Scorpio match because not only for the spot, but it sincerely surprised me
Yeah.
when it ended. When I saw Scorpio hit the finisher, I knew it. I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna win,"
Yep.
because they try really hard to protect finishers in AEW. So when I saw him hit that finisher, I was like, "Fuck, dude, this is awesome."
Yep.
And so it's not even the Sammy spot that can stick to the spot of the week. Just the finish in
Yep.
general stuck with me. I'm still hyped on it. Super excited to see how it goes, especially with Wardlow. So personally, I would say Sammy and Scorpio. Where were you leaning?
Sammy and Scorpio. I think it was clear. I think there was some good matches throughout the week. I thought, Mercedes and Hero I was really impressed with, so that's kind of leaning there too. But I can go all in on the Sammy and Scorpio match too. I did not expect Scorpio to win. I really didn't, and the match was fun. There's some cool stuff going on. The ups and downs were nice. Obviously, we picked the spot of the week, which was from there as well.
Yeah.
However, despite that, if that didn't happen, I think that match was still phenomenal.
And you're sure that you don't want to throw legit Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa in the
positive? Yes, I am absolutely 100% positive. I want to throw that match in the trash, actually. But there you have it. Botch of the week. Hager needing the help from Eddie to lift up the powerbomb to the outside. Spot of the week, the 630 splash to nowhere from Sammy G. And then our match of the week, Scorpio Sky versus Sammy with a new champion. And this week we are in complete agreement, which
we'll see how often that happens.
It's luck, probably. I imagine.
Weekly shows, maybe. I feel like pay-per-views, we might have differences whenever we get to those. But
I think that's true. I think that's true. And what you can do is you can follow us on all of our socials that we mentioned before, and you will see these codified in Kip and Stone. And you can put down below in the comments if you agree or if you think we're idiots. Probably think we're idiots. And that's cool too.
Yeah. I mean, we just went like 3.5 hours or something.
We did.
And I'm going to say this. If anybody actually watched this shit and stuck through it, God bless you.
God bless.
All right. I really sincerely appreciate it. So the way, just before I close out real quick, just to add a little more time. Like I said, we're going to do news segments and then we'll do like the weekly shows. We'll probably have longer episodes when we have these pay-per-views because we only do this once a week. Again, if you want to watch something else that's weekly or constant, like 24/7 current, go check out Figure 4 Online with Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. You can check out Wrestle Talk. You can do What Culture Wrestling. All of those. They don't pay me to say that. This is the stuff I watch every day, all the time to keep up with everything. They're great. So if you want weekly stuff, check that out. We just love to give you the full week, give you our perspective, talk about it, maybe shoot the shit on what could happen, some of the whys and what fors, and hopefully you have enjoyed it. And yeah, these episodes will definitely get shorter, especially when we go through just the weekly shows. But this was kind of a special one. I mean, this is the first one. I feel like I talked a lot, largely just to give context to why I think the way I do too. That obviously level out a bit. But all that to say, thank you for checking out Last Week in Wrestling here on twitch.tv/LWIW pod. And all of our socials are there, and definitely check us out. So Charlie, send us out of here, man.
Austin, thank you so much for your time. That's all I got. I'm not even going to add anything fancy here. Check out the socials. Make sure you follow us on all the things. Content will be coming out daily, particularly on TikTok and Instagram. And we'll see you right here on Twitch, 7 p.m. next Monday.